Hello there and a very good Sunday morning to you. Nice to have your company at 8 o'clock in the morning, bright and early. We have got 3 hours of live sewing and products for you, and we've got a really varied shows as well. We've got my favourite fabrics, so we have the PUs and the canvases coming up shortly. Then we're going to move on to some brand new applique. It isn't anybody's birthday. Well, it probably is somebody's birthday, but it isn't anybody's birthday here. I've just made some bunting using some of the templates that are coming up, or the panels that are coming up in the next hour. If you want to get ahead of that, look, I know we haven't even seen the early bird yet. I just wanted to show you because I think we're going to sell out. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's a quilt, it's a wall hanging, you can cut them out individually, you can make pockets out of them and storage and cubes, and that's coming up in the next hour. But if you have a look on the website, you can get ahead of the game there. That's sewingstreet.com. So we've got some really good panels and some fabulous fabrics that match as well coming up in the next hour. And then we've got more sewing coming up at 10 o'clock as well. So that's what we have planned for you this morning. If you want to come and be part of the show, then you can message me on Facebook. So if you go to our Facebook, the Sewing Street TV page, not the fans one, if you go to the Sewing Street one and then go to visitor posts, that's where I am. So I can answer your questions and see your comments and see your pictures. Love to know what you're up to, what kind of things you've been sewing, what kind of things that you'd like to. And if you just want to pop over and say hello, good morning, then that would be lovely to hear from you as well. But it is just after 8 o'clock in the morning. So as usual, we're going to bring you a special offer product for you. And this time is toy filling. But it's actually two toy fillings. I use this so much. Basically, at 8 o'clock in the morning, we bring you a reduced priced item that we're going to keep reduced while we have the stock or until the end of the day. So this time it's super soft toy filling. I'm very picky about my toy filling. I've had some bad experiences with toy filler. Yeah, it's quite devastating. You know, you spend the money, you think you've got a bargain, this huge sack full of toy filler arrives and it feels like you could scrub saucepans with it. I don't want to put that in my toys, and I don't want to put that in the corners of cushion covers or anything else that I'm padding out. I want it to be nice and soft and springy, and I'm opening this. Not sure if I should, but I am not using dressmaking scissors to open these at all. Well, you're not supposed to cut paper. It doesn't say anything about plastic in the rules, does it? Look. This is it. That's probably very noisy. I apologise. This is it. It's soft and it's springy. It's not clumpy. You can actually see kind of like coils in there. That's what makes it springy. A lot of toy filler, not only is it scratchy, it kind of clumps in lumps, and that's going to happen when you put it inside toys as well. But with this one, even when you're picking off tiny amounts, maybe you're making Tilda dolls or Luna Lappens or toys that have very thin legs and arms, even the tiniest amount isn't going to clump when you put it inside. And I think that's really important. I think it's important to have a toy filler that you can wash. And it's kind of nice that this is UK made as well. And at £5.98, that's for 2 bags. So you've got 500 grams in total, and you're saving £2 off the usual price. But this is, particularly for toys, this is so important. But maybe you're making an unusual shaped cushion that you can't find a cushion pad for. So you'll be using toy filler probably to make your own. Is it a circular cushion or a hexagon shaped cushion? You can actually make up the shape of the cushion with a calico or a cheap fabric to make a lining. Oh gosh, a quarter of the stock sold out. 250 grams would fill something of this kind of size with a bit left over. You would be amazed how much it squishes down. So particularly like this chap who I wanted a really solid head, and on the neck, important to have a solid neck because otherwise it's going to be a bit floppy. So even though arms and legs may be a little bit softer, I do like a solid neck. Do you know, sometimes you say things on TV and you think, well, where else would I have ever said I like a solid neck? But I like a solid neck. But just to give you an idea, if you've not used toy filler before, how far that is going to go, that is probably one toy of that kind of size, maybe a little bit bigger. But you remember, you are getting the 2 of those for £5.98. Now then, if you're new to Sewing Street, I know what you're thinking, £5.98, £3.95 postage. That's a lot. What if I want something else later on that's going to build up and be a fortune? Not on Sewing Street, it's not. It's £3.95 postage all day. So order this now, go through to checkout, pay for it, and then enjoy the rest of the shows. And if you want to order anything else right up until midnight tonight, you don't pay any extra postage. So if you want to order a packet of pins for a couple of pounds and £3.95 postage, you wouldn't, would you? But anything else you order today, you're not paying postage. It's like having P&P free for the rest of the day. And that could be anything off the website. It doesn't have to be while we're here live. It could be 3 o'clock this afternoon or 11 o'clock tonight. If you think, oh, I need something, get it on your order before midnight. If you order something else tomorrow, you'll have another £3.95 to pay. But now you've got your early bird, you've made your saving, you've got yourself a great deal. Sit back and relax and don't worry about having any extra postage to pay. So this is only while we have the stock, remember. Now half of the stock sold out. This is going to go quickly, isn't it? But do you know, I really would stock up on this, and I wish I could get to the phone. Well, I could actually, couldn't I? No, shut up. Yeah, I got told off for that. I really would stock up on this. I wasn't kidding about earlier on ordering a huge bag that I thought was a bargain, and I just don't know what to do with it. It's just scratchy. It's scratchy and horrible. Not just for toy making. This is so soft. When you get it home, open the bag and go. It just feels lovely. It's like a stress ball thing. Ooh. If you are kind of filling out the corners of cushion pads, particularly with hollow fibre cushion pads. I don't like feathers. I don't like to use feathers. But the square pads that you buy tend not to be full in the corners. And actually, if you opened up one of those hollow fibre pads, you probably find it's the scratchy stuff anyway. But it doesn't go into the corners. And the reason it doesn't go into the corners is because it's clumping, because it's cheap. If you had a cushion made out of these, it would go into the corners, but use these in the corners of your cushion just to pad them out a little bit and make them nice and square. Okay, that's going to go. Let me show you. Oh, you're on the website. Good for you. Look at these. Whoops, oh, we're that way. These are coming up at 10 o'clock. Are you making bunting? Is it going to be a birthday bunting? Is it going to be a welcome home bunting? Is it going to be, thank goodness we can get back together again at some point, bunting? Or are you going to personalise little drawstring bags, school bags, PE bags? These are, we've got different fonts and we've got different colours as well, so do have a look on sewingstreet.com. These are coming up at 9. But you just put your heat and bond on the back, or your bond web on the back, cut the letters out, iron them on. You don't even have to sew them if you do them that way. If you think, well, they're going to be a little bit fiddly to sew, try free motion embroidery and then just scribble them onto your project. But that's coming up later. If we have any left, we've had a message from Angie. Hi, Angie. Where are you? Oh, morning, Debbie, from beautiful sunny Great Yarmouth. Oh, it was lovely this morning. I'm up at just before 4 o'clock in the morning, and driving into work. It's the first day I've actually driven into work when it's been daylight right from the start, and it's wonderful because the sun's right behind me all the way over, and you just see this wonderful orange glow. I said it's going to be a good day today, I'm sure. So if you're lucky enough to have a garden or a balcony, then get out there after we've finished. Bit of sewing first, and then this afternoon you can go outside. Morning, Jen. Would you use this to make a toy for a dog? Always loving everything you bring us here on Sewing Street. I can't make toys for my dog because she'd tear them apart. No matter, I can make them out of wood and she'd tear them apart. But yeah, it would make a good dog toy. Use lots of it, squish it up together, and just make sure that whatever fabric you're using is going to be tooth-proof. And use very small stitches if you're going to stuff something tight, because the seam will be stronger, so you don't want it bulging. But if you've got a dog that doesn't rip toys to pieces, then that's going to be fine. Okay, I've got my backpacks book. Put those down there. in the show. If you haven't seen this before, it's a little bit different because there aren't patterns per se. We have Applique, a plastic template, which is what makes these books a little bit special. So there's no enlarging by 200%. I wouldn't know where to go to do that. There's no cutting patterns out of your book, which is always a bit of a shame. With this one, all you're going to do is plonk this on top of your fabric. Use a little bit of grippy spray on the back of that if you've got a slippy fabric to hold it in place. There's no need to pin it, and you just draw around the shape. And you can create at least 15 different styles of backpack. So from something that is great for the kids, and let me just show you how it works. So there's a nose, and there's a big eye, and there's the little eye in the middle. This is the shape of the nose here. So you just draw around that on the fold and cut it out. And then for the face shape, I draw around this section and across there. And again, that's on the fold. And those are the ears. And the actual bag is on the fold, and it's the round backpack, so it's all the way around here. And these sections are the sides and the base and the zip panel. There's different methods of making these as well. So if I just open this up, I keep my plastic in this one. So now this one, the lining is made up separately to the outside of the bag, and then it's hand sewn to the inside of the zip. But that just means that you've got no raw edges on the inside. So it may seem time consuming to do it that way, but that's probably the easiest way to make this style of backpack. There are others in there that have binding on the inside. There are some that have binding on the outside. I'm a little teddy bear. You don't get the teddy bear and you don't get instructions. I just thought it was rather cute. My grandma knitted me that. And my grandma was actually born in 1900. She's not with us anymore. I think she would be the oldest person in the world. But yeah, I've got a few of those sort of things. You keep things like that, don't you? And I think things like jewellery and things that people have made are the kind of things that pass down from generation to generation. In my family, anyway. So, yeah, what have you kept? What have you got that belonged to a grandparent or a great-grandparent or even generations beyond that? What's actually been handed down all of your generations? So we've got toys. I've got a whole set of, I've got a set of blue wedgwood. My mum used to collect it. My mum has been gone for a long time now. But she collected, the traditional blue stuff. And she started collecting that when she first started work. And in those days, she started work at 14. And at every payday, she'd have a little bit of wedgwood. And so I've got this huge collection of wedgwood. And it's never been used. She wouldn't use it. It was always kind of on display, but never used. And on her 80th birthday, we had a surprise party for her with a few family members around. And I made dinner and served it on the wedgwood. She was mortified. She was so cross that I'd actually used the wedgwood. So now it's back in the cupboard and it's never been used since. So what have you got? Maybe it's a sewing machine. How old is that one? Is it one of the treadle ones? So yeah, come and let us know on the Facebook page, on the visitor posts on the Sewing Street Facebook page. Just really quickly, I just wanted to show you that template. Every area that you need to make the bag is highlighted and it's written down as well, so you know exactly which pieces you're going to need to use. And they're not all fun ones with teddy bears on the front, there are a few. This is the one with the binding on the outside, and this is actually made in the PU that we have on the show as well. So you can work with that. Pockets on the front, drawstring bags. They're all backpacks, but they're all different styles of backpacks. Nautical styles. This one's got piping on it, so it's a bit of a lesson in piping. You can add zip pockets and patch pockets as you will. This one could be a tote bag, a messenger bag, or a backpack because it's adaptable. And you've got lots of hints and tips and all of the tools and things that you're going to need. The oops section, you'll find a lot of the time, depends on the type of fabric and interfacing you're using, that things grow a little bit. So maybe you're sewing around here, you're sewing here, and when you sew them all together, you'll find that this is a bit longer than it should be. So this is what happens, and this is how you can rectify things like that. If you're sewing around a curve and it's not really very curvy, or maybe you've got, you know, pointy bits in it. If you haven't got a really nice smooth curve, I'll show you or explain to you how you can get around that as well. Because things don't always go perfectly first time, do they? So that's backpacks. Your RRP for this is £17.99. So that is like another early bird, really, isn't it? Oh, the book does come out of the folder as well. You've got a book and a folder so that you can keep your pattern in there. Right, that's that. And that PU, I love this fabric. All by the ½ metre, which means that if you wanted to make a jacket, you can order 1 metre, 2 metres, however much you need, and it is dressmaking quality. The reason being, look how soft it is. It's not scratchy, it's not irritating, it's easy to sew, it's got a knitted backing, so it's got a little bit of give on there as well, which makes it really comfortable. So this is the taupe. Again, the softness. You can iron it from the back. Don't ever iron it from the front, you will melt it. But you can give it a real blast of steam, because it will be all folded up and creased up when you get it home. Blast of steam on the back, or give it an iron. Cool wash, you can wash it. So you can be making skirts and jackets, but it is perfect for bag making. And you can quilt it. I'll show you that in a sec. And you can use your fleeces on the back, just don't fuse them from this side, so you have to fuse them from the back. And at £6.99, that's you're getting a lot. It's 140 centimetres wide as well, so it's a good width, but I love the softness. And I think that is a really classy colour. We've only got 5 metres of this one left. We will have them back in stock when we sell out. Right, the red. Red can be red can be a bit dodgy when you're talking about laminated fabrics, because a lot of the reds that you see are shiny, and I don't like that. I think it looks cheap, personally. But this has a sheen, and it does have like a vein running through it as well. So if you want a leather look, this is the look of leather, but it is an awful lot softer than leather and so much easier to work with. You don't need a special needle, so don't go buying a leather needle for this. If you're sewing with any kind of interfacing on the back, then maybe a denim needle will help, because those are stronger needles. And you may need a walking foot or a non-slip foot on your sewing machine if you're sewing from the top. If you're just joining together and making a seam, then you can sew from the back without it causing any friction. This is a bit tatty on the edge. Expect it to look like that. I have had comments before from people saying, oh, mine looks faulty. It's not, that's the selvage. So just like on any piece of fabric, you can see the little holes down the side, and it kind of gives you an idea of the fabric that you're working with, to be honest. But again, you're getting so much for your £6.99. You could easily make a complete backpack with enough left over to make a matching purse from one of those. So there's red. Everybody's favourite colour is the mustard, and I'm sure this must be a back in stock, because every time we bring you this, it sells out. Whether it's in the canvas or, in fact, any fabric in this colour. It's just like hot cakes. And again, hot cakes with custard on the top. And again, it's just £6.99. It is a lovely colour there. And why not mix and match together? Why not go for mustard and chocolate brown? Mustard and chocolate, you. Or with the black. That is a striking combination as well. So I'd go for a couple of them. And remember, it is by the ½ metre. So if you wanted 1 metre, then just order 2 units. The chocolate brown is like the richest Belgian chocolate. It is beautiful. Look at that. Look at the colour. And again, the sheen, not the shine. The softness, the suppleness. Having that little bit of give in there makes it perfect for dressmaking. I've made skirts out of this before. I've made jackets out of it before. And it's lightweight and it's comfortable to wear. And if it does bag a little bit, you know how if you're sitting in a laminated fabric for any kind of length of time, maybe you've got some leather trousers or something like that, they go a bit baggy on the knees and the bottom. If you give it a blast of steam, it shrinks back together again. Invest in some wonder clips. Have a look on the website for those, because you don't want to pin. You can pin. If you pin in the seam allowance, that's fine. You may leave little holes when you're pinning, But again, blast of steam from the back and the holes will shrink back together again. So not big holes, but if you're making pinholes, they'll shrink back together again. It's a perfect fabric to sew with. And it looks so expensive. And it's not. You could make, I mean, if you're going for maybe my occasion bags book or smaller bags, clutch bags, that kind of size, you could probably get half a dozen out of this. So if you're making to sell, you are going to have a finished product, a beautiful bag that somebody thinks you've spent a fortune on. So maybe you could charge a little bit more for that one. I did mention quilting it though, so let's have a go. And let's have a go with the, let's do the taupe. So we'll chop some up. I'm going to use my H640 on the back, which is fusible, but I'm not actually going to fuse it. In fact, let's have a go. We could have a go. I was going to use 505 spray, but you know, we do have some. If you're a little bit nervous about using it, we'll see if it works. So that's on hottest. Just wait for that to warm up. So let's chop off that selvage because we don't like the selvage. Go. So I'm using the Creative Grids 24.5 by 6.5 ruler. That's the ultimate size. So if you haven't used any of the rulers before, go for that one. There's loads of them on the website. It does say 6 inches, but you have got an extra ½ inch there, which is perfect if you're patchworking and you need to cut, you know, 2.5 inch strips. You've got the extra ½ inch on one side. You've got a 1/4 inch marking around here. You have 1/8 inch increments all the way around. These spots are grippy bits, so they help to stop your template from slipping. And you've also got ½ inch markings on here as well in the black. So if you do need to measure a 2.5 inch strip, it's here, and 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, and so on and so forth. But the length of this is perfect to go across a bolt, a fabric that's come off a bolt. If you have fabric that's on a bolt, it's probably folded in half and it's probably quilting fabric, and that will be 44 inches wide. Folded in half is 22 inches. So you've got 1.5 inches or so either end of this, at each end of this, so that it'll go all the way across your bolt without having to move your ruler across. Go for a big cutting mat as well. This one you will have to move a little bit because this is only 18 inches long. But it's a nice size and it's got an ironing pad on the back, which is why we like it. So let me cut a strip off here. In fact, we'll do 2. You see how easy this is to cut through as well? It's not sticking and gripping, it's just like cutting through cotton. And let's cut this in half again, just in case one piece doesn't work. Lock the blade out on that. Let's turn this over and let's see if we can iron it. So mustard and taupe are the most popular at the moment in the PU. This is H640, got the label on it and everything. Yours won't arrive like this. This is a fusible fleece. I had a message only this morning saying what type of fleece would I use for bag making. I use H640, it's a Valaiseline product. It has knobbly bits on the one side, that's glue, and it's smooth on the other side. It's about 1/4 inch in thickness, but this is enough to give your fabric body, but it's still got softness. So without your H640, your fabric will flop, it won't, in fact, it could stand up alone. It has that kind of firmness, but it's just easy to work with, and you don't need to trim it back into the seams. There are many, many different brands that do fusible fleece, and I've used most of them. And to be honest, most of the ones that I've used, I have a problem with the fabric wrinkling. I never have with this one. So always take a look at your manufacturer's instructions, because some of these like steam and some of them don't. H640 loves steam. So normally this would go on the back of your fabric turn it over, iron from the top, start at the centre, move out, blast of steam all the way across it. The steam really sets it, but you can't with the PU. What I can do is take away that crease mark in the centre. There we go, we do have a bit of water in there. You do get a square metre of your H640, by the way, not it won't come in little bits like this. But you can see the crease has disappeared now, so you can iron on the back of this, no problem. Let's pop this down and see what happens. I'm not holding the iron on there for too long because it is polyester, so I don't want to melt it, but long enough for the steam to go through. And let's see if it sticks. Oh, it's getting there. It's getting there. It's just taking a while for the steam to do its stuff. But if you are a little bit nervous, then there is no reason why you can't, even with your H640, use your, look at that stuck. Lose your glues as well. Your spray adhesives, but that's stuck rather nicely, see? Yeah. So, oh, I'm glad I did that. You do these things sometimes, they just don't work. Normally live on air. So, let us draw some lines on here. I did try using a Hera marker because we've got those in the next show as well to mark this. If you're going to use a Hera marker, please be gentle with it because you can scratch the laminate off the top. It's not like oilcloth where you've got a really thick plasticky layer. This is actually quite delicate, so it will scratch. So that will be gentle if you're going to try. I'm going to use a water erasable pen, which is on the floor. That's where I keep them. And let's draw some lines. So we'll start right across the centre, and I'm going to do 45-degree lines. So I'm using the 45-degree angle on the mat to mark this out. Right, that will disappear. So I'll let that dry for a while, and let's do 1.5 inches each side. So I'm not using the ruler this time, the mat this time. I'm using the ruler to mark my 1.5 inches. Water erasable ink will disappear with a damp cloth. You don't need to wash it, but don't iron over it because it will become permanent. Same with air erasable pens. That's that. Now let's go back to the centre line. It's a nice thing about rulers and mats working like a happy marriage to give you accuracy. There we go. Now you could use a thicker wadding behind this if you really wanted the stitches to sink in. Oh, I should have done that actually. Or you can use 2 layers together. So just like I did with the H640 on the back of here, put another layer on the back and then another layer if you want to. There's no rules. There's nobody's going to say, oh, we've used more than one of those. Use as many as you like, make it as thick as you like. Right, now I've got the walking foot on my machine. And I'm going to lengthen the stitch to let's go up to 2.8. No, we'll go up to 3. Because this isn't a seam, and even if you are making seams with your PU, don't make the stitches too small because it can just perforate and tear. So let's have a go. Let's plug in the foot pedal. We have very few staff here at the moment, as it should be. So we're all mucking in. Oh, and this morning we have, so today there's me, Debbie, there's Kat next door, she's directing and in charge of cameras, and then upstairs we have Hayley producing. Upstairs we have Hannah producing. And I'm sorry I got your name wrong, but I was just about to say, she brought in croissants for everybody this morning. We had chocolate croissants, and then Kat has brought in her coffee machine. So we've had Posh coffee and croissants for breakfast this morning. There we go. Oh, I brought the bunting. So it's kind of a Sunday morning party. Right, so literally just following the lines. I shan't do all of it, but you'll get the idea when I do a few rows as to how stunning this is going to look. It gives for bag making, you have a think about expensive handbags, particularly the Chanel type. So imagine you've got, I'll do the lines a bit closer together, but you've got a really beautiful little clutch bag, all quilted, and then I would have a shop around, come on, for some fancy gold hardware. Oh, in the black particularly, that would look amazing. I think I've just missed the line a bit there. So this is the 550 that I'm using, the Elna, which we will be featuring in the 10 o'clock show this morning. It doesn't, it doesn't actually come with a walking foot, but it can obviously be used with one. There we go. So a walking foot for your PU is fine. They can be quite expensive. I think my needle's coming in, isn't it? Oh no, we're okay. They can be quite expensive when you buy them on their own, 30, 40, 50 pounds even. If you haven't got a walking foot and it's only the PU that you want to sew, then try a non-stick foot or a Teflon foot. Those are the white ones, because your PU will stick to your foot. Not from underneath, but it will from the top. Or if you don't want to do any of that, then try putting a little bit of masking tape on the bottom of your presser foot. Obviously cut a hole so that the needle will go through it, and that may help. Or you can use some tearaway stabiliser or a transparent type of stabiliser over the top. I'm just going to do one more, just to give it, should have brought a damp cloth in, shouldn't I, really? Oh, actually, no, I can use the steam. I was thinking of taking the lines away so you can see, well, you can see that there, can't you? Let's have a look at that. Oh, there's loads of water coming out of that, that'll do. And give it a wipe. So obviously I haven't done all of that, but you can see how nicely that's quilted. My stitch was on a stitch length of 3 there. To be honest, I think it should have been a little bit longer. But look at it looks really kind of sumptuous, doesn't it? And it looks really expensive. That's it. So that's the H640 with the PU. Let me just show you it again. Let me just make sure I don't put the iron next to something plastic under there. Is that a whole piece? I think this is the whole piece. This is how much you're getting, look. So that is a square metre. Consider if you're making things like clutch bags. I only use these on the outer fabric, not on the lining, but a bag of this kind of size, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. You can make 10 bags of that kind of size with it. And it really does make a difference to your fabric. It gives you a luxurious kind of feel. Again, it lets your bag stand alone, but particularly if you're using, if you're making smaller bags, if you're making little makeup bags or even little drawstring or gift bags and things like that, that's when this comes into its own, because it's soft and you can sew through it really easily. There's lots of different types of stabilisers and interfacings on the market. It's a minefield. It's one of the most commonly asked questions I have is, can you explain them all? There's hundreds of them. But this is the one that I choose to work with, particularly on smaller items with bags. With this one, this is H640 in my bag that I keep my plastic in. It'll stand up on its own, but it's squishy as well. So again, it's easy to work with. That's foam. That's H640, it's another panda face, but again, stands up on its own. I keep bubble wrap in this one, but again, it's squishy. So you've got a certain degree of firmness, so it helps your bag with structure and with shape, easy to work with, and it squishes. But I can't stress enough, the wrinkling, it just doesn't seem to happen with this one. That's got H640 in it as well. I keep scrap pieces of wadding in this one. This is why I get through so much of it. Because again, it's only a little drawstring bag. You would have thought it doesn't really need anything, but it just gives your bag that really nice, expensive, luxurious feel. It makes it substantial. Without the H640, that would be a couple of pieces of fabric just flopping. So it keeps its shape really well. So multi-order on that one while we've got the stock, because we do tend to sell hundreds of these. I wouldn't use it for a quilt, it's polyester. But for anything, wall hangings, absolutely fine. But certainly if you're a bag maker, you need your H640. Okay, who would have thought that you could sing the praises of a bit of polyester for so much for so long? But it's one of those things, once you start using it, you'll never go back again. You'll be so pleased that you ordered. Where can I put that? Down there. Oh, Bernadette sent a message. Hi Bernadette, she says, hi Sewing Street, I'm new to sewing after years not having the opportunity or time. Big thank you for all the basics information given. Truly grateful and couldn't have started without you and the team. Thank you. I'm looking for some flannel fabric. Will you be getting some in? Also Marvel Comics fabric, please. Many thanks for opening up my world once more. It's been dark and no brightness around me. Oh, that is really lovely, thank you. As far as I'm aware, no, I'm afraid we're not looking at flannel fabric. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. And Marvel Comics. We have had Marvel in the past, haven't we? We don't have any at the moment. But it is available. Can't say from where, but there is. Search it. Search Marvel fabrics on your search engine on the PC, and it will come up. There is Marvel fabric out there. Okay, look at me sending you to another shop. I should be saying, what do you want to buy that for? We have Moda. Right. Oh, now then, these panels, I gave you sneaky peek of lettering panels, so you've seen two of them. Have a look at this one. These are coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. These are a bit posh, these are all the grey ones. So we've got grey, we've got brightly coloured, and we've got the font that's behind us here as well. So what are you going to use them for? So I've got Happy Birthday Bunting. If you just joined us, it's not my birthday. I just thought that would be something that you're going to use the letters for. And I've just used Bondweb to adhere those to bunting. We're going to be making some bunting in the next hour. Storage boxes, bags, drawstring bags, back to school bags, maybe, I don't know, banners, something to put across the headboard in the children's bedroom. Door hangers could be. Maybe if there's a lot of you in the household, then you've got all of your own drawstring bags that you keep your toiletries in. You could have initials on there. For birthdays, you've got numbers on there as well. You could be using these as applique on quilts. So if you wanted to personalise them. And I just think it's such a good idea. You don't see a lot of letters or letter templates or anything like that. So if you're not very good at hand drawing, and I like the way that we've got all of the different designs on there as well. This isn't till 9 o'clock. I know. Have a look on the website. We're not going to give you the details now, but have a look on the website. And we've got fabrics as well. So I'm going to make some bunting in the next hour using spot fabric in different colours, with the letters on the top. Look at those. Summer parties. Yeah, Zoom parties and Skype parties, of course, not proper parties. It's my eldest granddaughter's, oh, I've got news. It's my eldest granddaughter's 5th birthday at the end of this month. And because we're in the middle of the country, we're in Lincolnshire, and they live in Lancaster, and the other in-laws, grandparents live in Stansted. Everyone comes to us because we're in the middle. And we normally have a really nice big party. I've got trampolines and slides and all kinds of things to entertain the kids. And we can't do it this year. And we can't do it. And my news, eldest granddaughter's expecting a brother or sister. I've been dying to say that for weeks. You have to wait till you're allowed, don't you? I can make a baby quilt. That's coming up at 9 o'clock this morning. Okay. Right, we have cotton canvases. These are all available by the half metre, or we've got a bundle. We're selling out of this like crazy. So this is the only bundle that we've got left now, but you can go for them individually if you like. Look at these beautiful colours. My favourite are these two. Lavender and lilac. I think they are beautiful. And who would have thought that lavender and lilac would go with fuchsia and coral, but they blend really well. I think it's because they're all the same tone. There's not one colour that you look at there that looks out of place or that shouts at you. You know, there's a lot of the time if you put fabrics together yourself, maybe, I don't know, you were going to put a navy with this lot. You look at the navy, it stands out too much. It's not as tonal as the rest of those. We have got navy on its own as well. But you've got 2.5 metres there for £19.49. Let's just open one. I love this coral colour. And I love mixing and matching fabrics together. Every colour goes with those letters. So it's 140 wide. If you wanted to make yourself a nice pair of summer trousers, then absolutely, this is fabulous for attire. If you're making a lightweight jacket, maybe an unlined jacket or a coat for summertime, you could make a dress, but I'd be careful with the pattern that I choose. I'd go for something quite structured, like the Laura's patterns that we've got on the website. So different. She's got a block colour dress on there. That would be absolutely fine for this. The kind of weight of a lightweight denim, we've got those on the show too. But if you're making something like dungarees, you could make a blouse. It might be a little bit heavy for summertime, but skirts, trousers, absolutely perfect. But it's also a great fabric for homewares. So if you're covering chairs maybe, or cushions on chairs, if you're making cushions, then this is an absolutely perfect fabric. And I do make a lot of bags. And this is a great fabric for bag making. Oh, let me show you. I don't think we've got all of these colours available. But the fabric makes this really stylish. Now, this is using a foam as well. But the combination of the colours together, but it's the quality of the fabric. It looks really, really expensive. And it's not. It's really affordable. So you can imagine making the same bag maybe in those 3 colours, or those 3 colours, and mix and match it with other fabrics as well, even if it's a lighter weight fabric. So if you have cotton fabric, maybe you may need to put some interfacing on the back of the cotton to bring it up to the same sturdiness as the canvas. It is soft as well, just to mention. When you see canvas, I think of something that you paint on and stretch around a frame. This isn't that kind of canvas. It's more of a linen weight to it, but it is 100% cotton. It's beautiful fabric. You won't be disappointed with that one. So, shall we have a little bit of a play again? Because I was thinking, don't know which one to use. Let's use all of them. We use a couple. I shan't waste all. In fact, they are available on their own. I'm going to use those 2 because I love them. And that one. The more you cut into, or the more I cut into, the more I keep. That's my thinking. It doesn't work that way. And I'm just going to do a bit of scrappy patchwork with it. So leftovers, maybe. So I've just put my, oh, there it is. So let's chop off the selvages, and I'll just cut a strip of fabric. So this is the pink. Again, if you wanted to go for this on its own, it's available by the ½ metre. So if you are dressmaking, unless you're making a mini, then you're going to need a little bit more than what we have for you there. More than what we have for you. That is so grammatically incorrect. And this one's the purple. So again, we'll just chop a little bit off the end of there. Nobody's going to notice, are they? These colours, again, are just so soft and so popular. Off with the selvage, and then that's about 4 inches. And then we'll do the same with the lavender. Do we neat and tidy? Because we are so short-staffed here. At the end of the live section of the day, we have to put everything back in bags and put them away and label them and everything. So I thought if we do this as we go along, rather than having to stay for a couple of hours. Okay. We've got some nice shows coming up as well. We've had quite a few of our guests and designers coming in and making videos for you. So I know Jane Groonoff was in yesterday, and then we've got a brand new guest coming in this afternoon to do some filming as well. So Kerry from Living in Loveliness, she'll be on a show near you very soon. So what do you think about them? You've been seeing any of the videos? Right, so we'll chop that about there, and then we'll chop that one in half as well. And we'll do a little stitch and flip. Hi, Linda. What stitch length would you use? It's difficult to say, isn't it? What stitch length would you use for sewing PU fabric when making a bag? I normally use 2.4. My sewing machine defaults to 2.2, and I think that's a little bit too tight together. It's not going to perforate like paper or like oilcloth type of fabrics that are purely plastic, but it will tear a little bit. It'll have a little bit of give in it if you use a stitch that's too small. You have got a knitted back on this, so it will have a little bit of give. But if I want a really strong seam, I wouldn't go smaller than a 2.4. Not for a bag. If I'm making clothes, maybe 2.4, 2.5. Best thing to do is to take a small piece. In fact, you should always do that anyway, no matter what you're making. Take a scrap piece of the fabric that you're using and test it on your machine. And you need to do that to make sure that the needle's correct, that your tensions are correct, and that you've got a nice seam line. So if you just sew a few stitches, try different stitch lengths and pull it. And then you'll get an idea of the strength of it and how the stitches are going to affect the fabric as well. But you'll probably find with thicker fabric like that a longer stitch comes up shorter anyway, particularly if you've got H640 on the back of it. You'll find that, I mean, I was using a stitch length of 3 on that fabric, and I could have gone for longer. Normally a 3 is a really long stitch, but I think it's the same with any fabric that you've got layers and wadding or thickness. Somehow your machine slows down a little bit over it and it makes the stitches smaller. So have a play. I am going to change the colour of my thread because I may top stitch. I'm going to show you this. This is quite funny. We've got threads to use in the studio. Look! They're all brown with the odd purple and the odd green. So I was looking through for a black this one. Look, it's just brown, different shades of brown, just all brown. I did see a purple somewhere. There we go. It's not the right purple, but... Oh, that's kind of better. We'll use that one. there's a lorry somewhere with a load of brown thread that's fallen off the back of it, I think. I don't know why brown. Okay, let's use this one. Thread content for your PU, I would use polyester. Always when, you know the paper bits that I've just taken off the top of there on new thread, make sure you peel them all off, because we pop them on there and we pop it and it's fine, and the sticky bits that are left behind can catch on your thread. And it can pull the thread very slightly, and then your stitches will pucker, and then you'll be messaging me saying, there's something wrong with the tension on my sewing machine. Poor tension, poor tension. Okay, let's thread you up. We could actually make something with this in the third hour, couldn't we? Right, I've got the walking foot on here, although I don't really need it. Remember, this machine doesn't come with the walking foot. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, am I? Doing scrappy stuff. So, oh, now the whole bundle's sold out with these fabrics, but they are available individually. I'm doing it at an angle. Oh, and I'm on 3 as well, let's go down. My daughter's gone scrappy patchwork crazy. It's lovely, you know, after she's nearly 30 and it's taken all these years to start sewing and she can't stop. So it is an outfit a day at the moment, although yesterday she made a sewing machine dust cover using this technique and in fact using these fabrics. And this is a pocket that goes across the front, it's really nice. And she's done a matching sewing machine mat as well with the same technique. Yeah, she's kind of putting me to shame at the moment. She's doing more sewing than I am. So I'm just doing these at odd angles. Great way of using scraps up. Great for anybody who's starting maybe patchwork and you've never done it before and you're a little bit worried about your points being perfect, because there aren't any on this one. There we go. Or if you just want a quick project. So that is that. That could be, I might finish that later if I get time. What I'm also, I'm going to give that a press. What I'm also going to do is to do a little bit of top stitching. You could add pieces of ribbon in there as well. Press that over. Melding the seams. There's a term for you. Then we'll give it a quick blast. And then I'm going to top stitch, which is why I wanted purple in there. So if you've got decorative stitches on your sewing machine, now's a nice time to use them. You could add ribbons and trimmings and things like that. That was so not straight. They're expecting an expert sewer any day now here at Sewing Street. That one's all right. I'll show you that one. I like top stitching when it's straight because I just think it gives a really finished look to your work. Come on out. Let's just quarter around the foot. So that is that. Come off. And then we'll trim that down. And then I can use that as a panel. So that could be a pocket. Let's make that straight. So I'm using the Alpha rotary cutter. This is actually mine from home because the ones here are blunt. I like Alpha. I use Alpha rulers, I use Alpha mats. I just like Alpha as a brand. I think they're really lovely quality. I find it really easy to use. You've got a lock button. Make sure you use that, but the blade isn't exposed until you squeeze it. It's left or right-handed, so you can simply take the blade off and put it back on the other side, so it's really easy to change over if you are left or right-handed. But I just love the quality of them. They will take other manufacturers' blades, by the way. Alpha blades tend to be really expensive. Go for a 45mm blade, and any 45mm blade should work with them. Always get into the habit of locking it. You can lock it out. I don't understand why you would. I would never ever do that personally. I'd use that to just lock it in, just to make sure that it's safe. Let me trim this down again. They cut through lots of layers of fabric with very little pressure when the blade is sharp. Look after your blade. If you drop it on the floor, the blade's not going to be exposed, so don't worry about that. But make sure that you don't have anything on your cutting mat, like a pin. That's your rotary cutter's worst enemy, is pins. They're terrified of pins. When you approach a pin, you can actually feel it shaking because it's so frightened of pins, because one pin underneath there and your blade is ruined. But I also find if I've got glue on my cutting mat, that can damage it as well, so just be careful with those, and they should last you a long, long time. Okay, so that's just a little example of working with canvases in a way that you may not think about, a little bit of patchwork. And again, that would make a really nice panel, maybe in the centre of a bag. Right. You could do a similar with denim. I shall find it and put a picture one day. Years ago, when years ago. Oh, Karen wants to buy everything. Oh, feel free. It's only 1p&p all day. Hi, Karen. Nice to hear from you. I made, when I first started patchwork and quilting a long, long time ago, I used to do a lot of English paper piecing. I love it. And I actually covered a footstool with a tumbling block design using different colours of denim. You'd need 3 to have a really good effect. The worst thing about it was the hole it made in my finger, because it was quite heavy fabric. It was recycled jeans, so it's quite heavy fabric to sew through. So I think that's when my collection of thimbles started. This is more of a lightweight denim, so if you are hand sewing, then that's going to be a really good weight for you. But don't look at denim and think jeans or aprons. Look at denim and think patchwork and quilting. This is soft enough to do that. So this is the dark option. It's got a nice selvage as well. Cut that off and use it as a trim. It's quite nice. It'll fray really nicely as well because it doesn't have elastane in it. So if you did want to maybe make a pocket on something, it does fray very nicely. If you've got stretch in there, you can't fray elastane very well. It doesn't really work. But if you like that kind of look, then you can do that. But again, if you're making aprons, would be great with this. Maybe a gardening apron when the weather's nice. If you are covering a chair, maybe a deck chair or something like that, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Or if you've got those like director's chairs, those are really easy to cover. You just take the cover off that's on there and use it as a template and put another one back on again. It could be clothing, so maybe making little dungarees and little skirts gathered around the waistband with a bit of rick-rack around the bottom. Wouldn't that be pretty? Elasticated waist, really easy to make. You don't even need a pattern for them. Anyway, £4.99 is your price for this one, and it is... Is that 150? That's really wide. It's that wide. And again, great for bag making as well. But I would go for the 2. It's nice to have a contrast fabric. But you could do scrappy patchwork pockets with that. So that's your dark. This is the light option, and again, it's lightweight. I wouldn't make a blouse. I think it's a little bit too heavy for that, maybe for winter time. But certainly you could be making trousers, maybe crop trousers, leisure trousers for the summer, lightweight jackets again, but absolutely perfect. And again, it's only £4.99, and that again is 150 wide. As it's by the ½ metre, if you order more than 1 unit, it will come in 1 piece. So if you are dressmaking, maybe you want to make one of those dungaree dress skirt things, then you can go by the ½ metre, so you can get larger pieces of fabric. How many messages? Okay. Oh, I forgot a message on a WhatsApp message. Just wanted you to know what an inspiration you are. Oh, go on. This is the bag that you demonstrated last week. Oh, yes. Not quite finished, just top stitching to do. Yeah, I started a bag last week and I didn't quite finish it. But I did do a Facebook Live on my channel yesterday and finished it. So if you wanted to see the rest of the tut, it's on there. Thank you, Frida. Which sewing machine are you using and what do you use at home? Looking to buy a new one as a beginner. And that's, so I can't see who that's from. I don't know if I've got a name on that one. This one, oh, Andrea. Oh, hi, Andrea. This one is the Elna 550. We'll be going into more details about it in the 10 o'clock show this morning. Don't think of yourself as being a beginner. Think of where you want to go with your sewing. So if you're a beginner and you get a very, very basic machine, and let's face it, you can buy a sewing machine for under £100, you won't be a beginner for very long. So don't buy a beginner sewing machine if you intend to carry on sewing, because after a week or a month or a couple of months, you will outgrow it. So always go for a machine that has potential, and more potential than you imagine that you're going to need. So if you're on a budget, this is a really affordable little machine. Again, we've got more details of this coming up at 10 o'clock this morning. It has 100 stitches and it's a computerized machine. I would always recommend a computerized machine over an electronic. You'll have more stitch capability and you'll have the needle stopping in the right position. Again, I'll go through all this later on and why. The machine I use at home is a Janome 6600 memory craft, which isn't made anymore. It is exactly the same as the Elna 720 that we bring you here. Elna and Janome are the same company, but the 720 has more features than my sewing machine has. So if you're looking for a sewing machine like mine, go for the Elna 720. If you wanted a more basic, more affordable, and then that's £1,100, it's a lot of money. I paid more than that for mine. Years ago, it's £1,500. And as I was saying yesterday, actually, I buy things that I use. I buy my sewing machine. I bought my overlocker. I've got the air threader, the same as what we've got here, because I don't want to be associated with a particular brand. I want to have the choice of which brand that I use. I'm asked, I just say no. So I bought my Janome sewing machine because I wanted the speed and I like the quality of it. I'm rambling on about sewing machines, and that's coming up at 10 o'clock this morning, aren't we? So I hope that's given you a taster, Andrea. We'll have a more in-depth chat about sewing machines at 10 o'clock. And anybody else that's got any questions or you need any advice, or there's some function on your machine that you don't know what to do with it, remember we've got sewing surgery. The next one's going to be on June the 1st. So it's the first Monday of the month. If you message your questions on Facebook, I'm sure there's going to be an event coming up. Haley will put an events page on there that you can put your questions underneath, or you can message me. So if you want anything specific answering like that, then come to sewing surgery. Right, okay. Gone past the hour again, haven't we? Just given it that all morning, I don't know. These panels, which are already selling, I knew they would do. These are coming up after the break. So have a look on the website now on sewingstreet.com if you want to make sure that you get your panels before they do sell out. Otherwise, go and put the kettle on and join me back here in about 3 minutes' time.
Would you like to take part in our weekly competition? If you do, then all you have to do is head to the Sewing Street fan page group on Facebook. Post your picture of your make. Myself, Debbie Shaw and John Cole Morgan love looking at all of your makes every week. We pick our favourite and announce the winner every Friday live on the show. Happy sewing and good luck.
Hello there, I'm Debbie Shaw, and I would love you to join me on the first Monday of every single month for Sewing Street Surgery. Now, this is a dedicated hour where I answer your questions, and that could be questions about techniques, it could be questions about tools, it could be questions about new products, or maybe something that you've seen that you just don't understand. There's a lot of questions about tensions on sewing machines, and there's a lot of questions about working with different weights of fabrics. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask me, the easiest way to bring a question over to us is to go to our Facebook page and post your question on there. I will collate all of those questions throughout the week. If we need any new products for you, or if we need any new demonstrations, those will all be worked on leading up to that first Monday of the month. So do join me, Debbie Shaw, on Sewing Street Surgery on the first Monday.
Shopping with us couldn't be easier. If you want to shop online, then you can head to our website, www.sewingstreet.com. It will redirect you to our sister channel Jewellery Makers landing page. Don't worry, you haven't gone to the wrong place. We're simply using their website temporarily while we're building our own web shop. Scroll down past the Watch Live part and you'll see all of the products that you will have seen on air on today's live show. You can also shop our catalogue by clicking a category, clicking a product to view closer, and adding it to your basket. Once you're ready to check out, you will need to create an account, which is absolutely free to do so, but it will mean that you can check out on as many orders as you want throughout the day with still only paying one postage and packaging. If you'd prefer to speak to somebody in our UK-based customer service team, then you can do so via the free telephone line number 0800 001 4433. They will not only help you create an account, but will also help you with any of your online shopping.
Hello and welcome. We love hearing from you and we really hope that you can follow us on our social media platforms. We've got Instagram, which is @Sewing Street. We have Facebook. We've got two Facebook pages. One is the Sewing Street TV page and the other one is Sewing Street Fans. All three of these are monitored all the time by our wonderful team, and if you want to message us on air, drop us a line on either of those three and we'll definitely be able to answer your questions that you may have. If you post on the actual wall, we can perhaps answer there. Otherwise, message us as well. That works really, really well. Thank you so much for being involved, and it's only because of this community that we're able to bring you all these different diverse products and to be able to answer your questions that you may have. Another way you can stay in touch with us is by signing up to our newsletter. These newsletters are sent out to you very regularly and they include not only our guest profiles of upcoming guests, but also amazing shows that we've got coming up for you. And if you want to look at the amazing products before everybody else, that's the best way to do it. If you'd like to sign up and you haven't already, the link to follow is www.sewingstreet.com/sign up. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Hello, welcome back to Sewing Street. My name's Debbie Shaw. I have to fill you in on that a little bit. My name is Debbie Shaw. We were just talking in that 3-minute break about names and stage names, and Shaw wasn't my name originally. My maiden name was Bagshaw, which is quite odd because Bagshaw translates as maker of bags, and that seems to be what I do all the time. So when I say my name is, my mind was going, actually, what is my name? It's not really Debbie Shaw, honestly. It's Fiona Appleton. I know. Anyhow, welcome back to Sewing Street. We're here for the next hour looking at some panels that have been so busy in the previous hour before we even gave you the details. You can see some of them behind me, and we've got lots of ideas for you how you're going to use these as well. So let me show you the 4 panels that we have first of all. So let's start with the big panel actually, because this one you could make a wall hanging by just quilting as it is, just like that. Wouldn't that be fun in a child's bedroom, particularly if they are, you know, the age of my granddaughters where they're learning, in fact they know all the letters. Even little smarty 2.5-year-old knows all the letters. But if they are learning, and it's just fun and it's bright and it's interesting. But when I first saw the panel, and we'll have a go later on if we have time, I was thinking cubes with the letters on, that you could stretch your letters a little bit further by mixing these with a different fabric as well. Hannah is producing came up with a lovely idea. She said when she first saw this, she was thinking about a wall hanging with pockets on the front. So I'm thinking if you're going to do that by 2, and then you can just cut one out and stick it over the top, or sew it over the top of the panels that you have there. So it's kind of matches. I think that's a lovely idea. You could put a big border around the outside and make this into a bed quilt. It's probably big enough for a cot quilt with a border around there as it is. 100% cotton. Now with this one, If you're going to order on the website, you'll need to search for the code. Normally when you go to the website, sewingstreet.com, you will go to a landing page on Jewellery Maker's website. Don't be put off by that, that's where we are at the moment. You'll see a video of what's going out at the moment, and then underneath that are all the products on the show. This one hasn't appeared there, but it is available on the website, so you need to search for the code. So the code up here, look, is HBUU38, so make a note of that. And then have a look on the website. There'll be a search bar at the top. If you put in that code, then it should come up with this panel. Oh, and it hasn't got a picture either. Make sure you get the right code, or give us a ring on 0800 001 4433 and say to the operator, I want the alphabet panel, please. Can't remember the code. It's the alphabet panel that's on right now. And you can place your order that way. And you have been doing this. Has been really popular already. What are you going to make with it? You know, oh, cubes. What are you thinking when you look at this? What are you going to make with it? I'd love to know. Are you going to cut out the initials for your kids or your grandchildren or whoever you're making something for, and maybe just add those to the front of a bag or a drawstring bag or something like that? I thought as well about just making a big toy bag. So if you fold it in half, let's see how many letters we can get in half. You get half a letter at the top, but if you put a drawstring around the top of that, you've got a really decent sized toy bag, which again, you could add a border. You could cut all of the letters out and then put sashing in between them. Then you could have a bag that's twice the size. A laundry bag. A laundry bag that is actually nice and fun and bright, and may even encourage them to pick up the clothes off the floor and put them in there. Probably not. I think we take it, you know, we just accept it as read that children have a wardrobe. And in fact, some of the grown-ups have wardrobes as well. I have a chairdrobe. My spare bedroom has been converted into a dressing room. I know. I've got rails and rails of clothes I can't fit in. And there's a lovely chair in there. So forget the rails, everything just goes on the chair. So it's my chairdrobe. How do we get onto that? So, £14.99, your price there. Come and let me know what you're going to make with it. Angie sent a message. I'm on Facebook on the Visit Post page on the Sewing Street TV, or not the fans one, the other one. Angie's got the Janome Memorycraft 7700 QCP. I love it. I have the Brother Dream machine too as well, and a Brother Overlocker machine, and a Brother Cover Stitch machine. I love my machines, but she says, it's all your fault, Debbie. Blame me. You started me sewing. I just love following your shows. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Angie. Thank you. Happy to take the blame. Right. We'll see this again later on. Right, the second, well, these are all similar. So this is the same font as the bunting, the Happy Birthday bunting that I made behind me. So we'll do a little bit more bunting in just a second. So we've got a few O's and a few H's and a few B's and a few of the letters that you're going to use more than anything. A third of the stock here has already sold out. Is that really £5.99? Have we got that right? Shouldn't it? Shouldn't be £15.99. If you don't have all of the letters that you need at £5.99, I'd go for a couple of them. I did do some Sewing Street. I did do some Sewing Street bunting and left it at home. There's only one capital S. In fact, there's only one capital of each one of the letters. So for £5.99, if I wanted to do Sewing Street with 2 capital letters, I would go for 2. That's £11.98 for 2 with only 1 P and P. I'll go for as many as you like. So again, if you needed more capitals, or if you've got a name with more than 3 E's in it, for instance, then just take a look at how many of each that we have. I'm just panning across and then panning back again. Talented camera operator. I'm getting a bit seasick now. So there's a couple of W's. You've got all... You've got your numbers 0 through to 9, so you've got 10 numbers as well. But again, I would recommend that you go for more than one. You know, if you wanted to do something with 44 on it or something like that. Okay. So that's your first one. Then we have it in brights next. I think this is the most popular one so far. In fact, we have less than 20 left. In fact, now we have less than 15 left. Really busy for these. We have 10 left. Again at £5.99. If you're ordering on the website, please check out of your baskets. You can find that your basket kind of gets emptied by people. Those people on the phone lines, they just come along. Can you imagine that in a supermarket? You've got your basket filled up with what you like, but you haven't gone through to the checkout yet, and somebody else comes along, so I'll have that. I'll have those toilet rolls. But that happens on the website, so please check out of your baskets before they go. I'm sure we're going to get them back again, but these will sell out. There's 5 left now. So that's probably the last time we'll see this one. I do like the greys. This is like the grown-up version. Or actually, a lot of nurseries are decorated in greys and taupes and neutral colours. I think they're really classy. But they've all got different prints. So we've got different shades of greys, but they're all printed as well. And you can put them onto bright colours if you wanted to, but I love these kind of tones. So again, you've got, I think, 3 of most of the letters apart from the really popular ones. Like E, got 4 of those. So N's, O's, V's. You've got the alphabet basically. Woo! And then you've got your 10 numbers there as well, and your Z's. And again, that's £5.99 is your price there. Teamwork, you see. We don't need camera operators. I can zoom in and out, and I can pan across. I can't do fancy wipes and things like that, but with a bit of practice. Okay, let's use, in fact, I'm going to use this one because I've already cut the letters out in the bag. What I found as well, here we go, look. So I sat and cut them all out in front of the TV last night with a little sharp pair of Fiskars scissors. The little ones, I use these because I can really get into the shapes with them. And what I did, I cheated a little bit because, oh, the backing's dropping off. I haven't cut out the middle bits because my idea was initially that if I put them on a white background, then you won't notice that I haven't cut the middle bits out. But actually, even with the middle bits in, I've left an outline around the edge of each one of those and it kind of looks deliberate. If you have the patience, then you can sit and cut every one of those out and all of the little bits and shapes as well. But after a couple of hours of cutting, I decided it was time for Columbo. I put some Bonder web on the back first of all before I started cutting these out. You can see that kind of dropping off already. So these can then just be ironed onto my fabric. If you wanted to add the Bonder web to your order, we have 5 meters of it here. So let's show you how much we're going to need. It'll need to go that way. So you'll need 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 strips, which will be about 2 meters out of your 5 meters in total. So if you're going for 2 of those, you've got enough there to Bonder web every single piece. And that's the easiest way to do it, because when this is stuck onto your fabric, it's not going to lift up. Because some of the letters are quite intricate, you know, the J's and the G's. So if you don't want to spend the time satin stitching around every one of the letters, maybe you are just going to straight stitch around the edge or put a running stitch by hand maybe. or free motion embroider them on. I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it. The bonder web will help to prevent them fraying as well. But to be honest, for something like bunting, that's not going to go in the wash, just stick them on. Unless you want to, there's no need to even sew those in place. But I'm going to, because it's my job. Let's go for... We've got lots of spotty fabric, but the colours on this one I think look quite vintage. So although we've got some lovely bright colours, I don't think that goes with them. If you're going to go for the brights, it goes really well. In fact, it's just the same colour as the A. But for this one, I'm going to go for this salmony colour because I think it looks a little bit more vintage. Have a look on the website if you wanted to go for these. We'll go through them later on, but they're ½ metre for £5.99. So let me show you some Posh bunting. Posh lined bunting. Right. So, I've lost my ruler now. It's under here. Honestly. As it happens every week, I don't move from this spot and I lose everything. Oh, morning. Oh, where are you? Morning, Dawn. And she says, morning, Debbie, fab show, great demo, amazing deals, enormous purchase. Thank you for your company. Thank you, Dawn. It's not the same without you being there. Let's chop the selvage off. So this is a lovely Rose and Hubble poplin. Nice dressmaking fabric, this one. Oh, 2/3 of the stock sold out of the alphabet applique. Better be quick. Let's fold this in half. To make sure my bunting pennants are going to be the right size, let's choose one of the larger letters. H is probably, no, M's a big one, isn't it? And we'll have it maybe about there. So no need to make that too straight at the bottom. So we'll go 8 inches deep, 6, 7, 8. And then place your pennant in the centre, and then we're just going to draw a diagonal line. That would cut off the M, so let's move that over. So I think this is going to be quite a big piece. Let's go there. So that is 6 inches across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches across. The large panel, by the way, over half of the stock of that sold out now. Oh, the brights have sold out, so no more calls for the bright ones. Well done, you. There we go. Okay. So again, I've put the heat and bond on the back already. So take the paper off the back. Sometimes it just drops away. Other times you may need to scratch it a little bit to get it off. That goes on here. I'm going to need a little bit of a seam allowance. So it's quite nice as well, like I did with my bunting, to have it at a jaunty angle. So that goes on there like that. An iron. So just a nice hot iron, no steam. And that's stuck. And then, have we got time to do a bit of free motion? I wonder. Let me see if I've got a foot first. Oh, I haven't got a free motion embroidery foot, that's a shame. Okay, so we will do a bit of satin stitching instead. So let me take off the foot and put the regular foot back on again. Could you? No, let's use a walking foot. So well prepped. We'll use a walking foot. That's for later. That's for later, that's for later. And I don't really want that purple, that's too bright. So let's see if there's anything else but brown in this box. Wouldn't you love a box like this just to rummage through? But wouldn't you love it if there's more than brown in here? Oh, we'll go for the pink because I'll be there all day. So I'm just going to do a tiny satin stitch. So have a practice again on a spare piece of the same fabric and just see how your satin stitch is going to look, because you may want it very narrow, very tight together. A looser stitch really doesn't matter. And I'd normally put some stabiliser behind it as well. So zigzag stitch, and let's go down. We'll try 0.5 in length and 1 across. Not wide enough, let's go a bit wider, 2 across, 3 across. It's like Goldilocks, isn't it? No, that one's not quite right, that's not quite right. 3 across is perfect. And then we're just going to sew around the edge. So with a satin stitch, always stop with your needle in the down position, but on the outside corners you need to stop on the right hand side to make a nice square, and on the inside corners you stop on the left hand side to make a nice square. I'll just go around here really quickly and then I'll show you on another piece of fabric what I mean and why. Oh, this looks nice. I said the satin stitching isn't standing out too much, so you get an outline, but it's not too bold. There we go. Across the bottom. And these are going to be lines, and I'm going to use a piece of bias binding. You can make your own, getting so much fabric with these, or you could just pop them onto a piece of ribbon, but I find with bias binding you have a really nice finish on both sides. Right, with the traditional alphabets that you're looking at now, we've got less than 20 of these left. Knew these would sell really quickly. I wish we could have got more for the show for you, but I'm sure they're going to be back. It's an ingenious idea. I'm assuming this is Tom, our designer, who came up with this one. And I think it's really job well done, Tom. They're useful and they're accurate. You know, not all of us are very good at drawing letters and cutting them out. Or you've got an option of maybe downloading off the internet. But when you can just cut out the letters like this, and again, I haven't cut them all out intricately, I've kind of cut around them. There you go, almost there with this one. If you want it to be more accurate, then you can do, but it depends what you're making. If I was making, if this is going to be on a pocket on a child's dress or a shirt or something, then I would really cut them out very, very carefully and satin stitch a lot slower than I'm doing here. I'd still use the bonder web to hold them in place as I'm sewing. I'll just be a little bit more careful. Okay, so that's on. And because I've used the bonder web as well, that's not going to lift up. The colours are lovely, aren't they? Okay, so let's go back to a straight stitch. Then I'm going to put a backing on this, so 2 pieces right sides together, and just sew down the 2 long sides here. Oh, Dawn wants to make an alphabet floor mat for a baby. How many layers of wadding on the back? That is entirely up to you. I tell you what, I don't know if we've got it on the show. No, we've got it down here. The polyester wadding. It's on the website. This is the 2 ounce. Not sure how much we've got left there. That would be perfect, because if you're using wadding, like a wool wadding, it might be kind of a bit of a waste if you're just going to put it on a floor mat, because it can be quite expensive. And if you're going for the H640, I'd go for 2 or 3 layers. That can work out quite expensive because you're going to need, they're only a square metre, so if you're making a square metre floor mat, you'll need 3 metres of it. But this is something like £3.99. It's really cheap, and it's a square metre, and it's thick. It's about, it's just under ½ an inch in thickness, so that would be perfect for you. And it's washable as well. It's £5.99, sorry. Oh, no, that's the applique fabric, sorry. If you wanted to go for that polyester wad, there you go, it's only £3.99. So that would be a good option. And I say it's washable, so that I'd go for 1 layer of that one personally. Okay, so let's sew all the way around the 2 long sides. You could get quite carried away. You could put some pom-pom trim around here, it'd look nice. That may go into the machine. I thought it would do. So let's lift that up, and I'm going to start sewing in the opposite direction. I could see the point of the fabric disappearing into the feed dogs. All right, sew down this side. Chop that off, chop the point off the ends, and then we'll turn it the right side out. With something pointy. Oh, I've got the iron finger, haven't I? It hasn't got a really big point on that one. But I'll show you that iron finger in a minute. It's one of those tools when you first see it, you think, but it's actually really useful. That's about as pointy as we can go there. Let's press it. So seams on the sides. Just push that out a bit there. Just push the seam out to the edge. The thing with an iron finger is that you don't iron your fingers. So if you really wanted to get close to whatever it is you're ironing, then keep your fingers well out of the way and use your iron finger instead. But it has the shape is for a reason. So they've got a square angle here, so that's great for pushing out square bag flaps, square points. It's got a rounded side here, so if you've got a round bag flap, you can really get in there and push it around. It's solid in this direction, hardly moves, so it is great for pushing, but it bends in this direction, which means that you can crease without using your iron. And then it's got the solid ball point at this end, which again you can use for pushing out, or you can use it for sewing, for pressing seams. Let me just sew a little seam together. I'm not doing the whole row of bunting, I've nearly finished that. I'll just show you how I put it on the bias binding. So if you have a seam that you want to press open, but you've got the kind of fabric that when you do press it open, you see tram lines from the raw edge. You put your iron finger underneath there and then press your seam over the top. And if you just use the nose of your iron, then the edges aren't actually flattened against the fabric because the fabric's been pushed away. So you can iron that bit without indentations from this bit here. So it's a really useful tool. The best thing is it keeps your fingers away from the iron, which is why it's called an iron finger. When I first saw this, I've had mine for years now, but when I first saw it and read the description, I thought it sounded like a superhero. You can imagine, you know, that talking about Marvel fabrics in the last hour, the iron finger. But it's not that kind of iron, it's that kind of iron. Okay, so you've got 2 little ears sticking out the top here, which need to be chopped off. Then I would take my bias binding. This isn't quite the right colour. This is a shop bought bias binding. So it's already pre-folded. I'd fold that in half and press it. And then simply slip my bunting into the centre, fold that over and sew. So the bunting that's behind me is glued on. I wasn't going to admit that, but I am. All of that's glued. which is fine, and it's quick and it involves no sewing whatsoever, and it's fun and it looks great, and it'll last you for this summer, because by the time you put that away and you bring it back out, it's going to be all frayed and tatty. This is Posh bunting that has a backing on it, so if you're hanging it in a window, it's double-sided, you don't get a tatty back, and you don't see any raw edges when you wrap this over as well. So if you want a bunting that's going to last for years, then that's the way that you're going to make it. Right. The traditional letters panel that I'm using there has now sold out, so that's gone. The brights are sold out, but we have the grey. Trying not to make... Do you know, I don't know, was it John in yesterday? Messy? Honestly? Do my best to tidy up when I've finished in here for the next presenter coming in. Not John, no, mess. I hope he's watching. Didn't mean it. Yes, I did. So, to be fair, I think I'm just lucky coming in on the days that I normally get a cleaner. So we have the greys left, and this is it. So you could brighten it up by putting bright fabric behind it, but I love the greys, and I think the grey on cream, greys and creams and ivories look so classy. So if I just ask our camera lady to pan across, and then the camera lady's nodding, and pan back again. So we've got the whole alphabet, and as I said before, at £5.99, if you went for 2 or 3 of those, just to make sure you get all of the letters that you want. Depends what you want to spell out. Ooh. I wasn't doing a budgie impression. I was going... So they are cotton, exclusive to Sewing Street as well, so don't shop around, you're not going to find them anywhere. So I would recommend, while we have the stock, because we've sold out of 2 of these already, go for at least 2 of them, particularly if you've got unusual names or you need more capital letters. There's 1 capital of each of those. I would also recommend that you put your Bonder web on your order as well, because this is going to make it easier to apply to whatever it is you're putting them on, whether it's clothing, even if it's something that's quite lightweight and you thought, I don't really want something heavy stuck on there, then go for your Bonder web as well. I was going to show you applique, wasn't I? Can I show you really quickly what I meant about going around corners on applique pieces? If I use a darker fabric, I have chopped into this one already, so I'm not being too wasteful. So I'll just chop a little bit off. And we'll just sew with a wider stitch so you can see it on the sewing machine. So I'm coming to a corner. So let's go for a zigzag and a short stitch. We'll go for a wide one so we can see what's going on. And a short length, that should do it. Right, so I'm coming down to a corner and I want to turn left. So if I stop with a needle on the left-hand side and turn my work around, it may be the kind of look that you want, but it's left a gap. So where the corner of my fabric is, the line goes down and then there's a gap as it goes around the corner. And I don't want that gap. I want it to be a solid line around here. You see what I mean there? So if I take that back to the sewing machine and show you what happens if you stop with the needle on the right-hand side. So again, away we go. Stop with needle right and then turn around. And I've got bits of thread everywhere, but you get the idea. Now on the corner, it's solid. So just be aware of where you're stopping. That sent you a bit dizzy, didn't it? If you want a nice corner like that one, then you need to stop with the needle on the right-hand side. It's the same if you're sewing a curve. I'll show you that one as well. Because with a curve, You may want to stop and move your fabric slightly and then carry on sewing. And as you're sewing around a curve, the stitches are going to open up like a fan. So if I stop with my needle on the left-hand side, I'm going to get a gap in my curve because they've spread out too far. So I get a little gap like that. And if I'm sewing with a very close satin stitch, so I want a solid border, that gap is going to be really noticeable. So as you're going around a curve, stop with the needle on the right-hand side. And then as you manoeuvre around, you don't get an open gap, it kind of closes in. So just a few little tips. So on your letters, you've got a lot of curves and you've got a lot of right angles as well. So just a little tip to help you get the perfect applique there. Oh, now then, the fabric bundles that we have for you. Let me take you through these. If you've already got your letters and now you want to add fabrics to your order, oh, that would look nice with that one. You're not going to pay any extra postage. So don't think, oh, I've gone through checkout, I've paid my £3.95 postage, now I've got to go through them all again. No, you don't. No more postage for anybody that's already ordered something for the rest of the day. Okay, so we're going through this one first, we're doing spots. Let's go through this one. So we have this is poplin again, so it's a really nice dressmaking quality of fabric. Could be for, if you bright, bold colours for the kids' clothes, or for yourself, or fancy dress outfits. It's wide as well, you've got 140 wide, so you could piece these together and even make a little pair of curtains out of them. This is the whole bundle at £10.99, that's 1.5 metres in total. And because it's a poplin, it's got a really nice weight. You can patchwork with it if you wanted to, but poplin's got a tighter weave than quilting fabric. But it's dense, it's not a see-through fabric, it's just lighter in weight. It's got a light handle. So there's the red and the cerise and the yellow, all for your £10.99. This is what I was thinking. Look at that. So grey stars, let me just check the greys. Yeah, even the pale greys would stand out. I'd leave the white border around them as well, just to make sure they really pop. But wouldn't that look lovely? Maybe a little quilt with the letters on it as applique. Pretty. Oh, storage tubs. Oh, so one for your cotton wools and one for your nappies. Or the ones that hang over the side of a cot. Nappy stackers. Got all this in my mind. I've got lots of sewing to do. I'll never get around to it, I was going to make so much for my two little granddaughters, but it doesn't quite happen. Made lots of fancy dress outfits for them. £10.99 again for 1.5 metres. And just lovely soft fabric. If you are quilting with it, it does have a lovely feel to it. It's not stiff and it's not scratchy. It is beautiful. So that's pink, blue and silver. We've got some pastel fabrics as well. If you just wanted plain, and this is cotton, so this is more of your quilting weight of cotton, so it's got a slightly looser weave and it's slightly heavier in weight than a poplin would be. But this is 2.5 metres for £16.99. And we have the lemon and the mint, sugared almonds, and the pink and the baby blue and the lilac. So it's like a pastel rainbow of fabric. And that is £16.99. 2.5 metres, that's good, isn't it? Then we've got, should we do spots? This makes lovely bias binding. The one that I was using was a shop bought one, but if you wanted to make your own, I like just a print on bias binding, I think had so much interest over a plain one, if that makes sense, even on a heavily patterned fabric. So I've actually used one of those, so let me let me show you the scraps. So we've got the salmony pink, sky blue, pale teal, lavender and turquoise. 2.5 metres again for £18.99. If it's going to be backing fabric or borders or sashing fabric or lining fabric, bag linings, jacket linings, it's It's a really lovely fabric for whatever you're going to use it for. Rose and Hubble, so it's a good name as well. And you find with a good name you get quality. And you get great value from Sewing Street. It's £18.99 for all of those. And then finally, we have the bright yellows, corals, black, purple and cerise. 2.5 metres again at £18.99. I'd go for the both of them. These are the kind of things that is just nice to have stock of. You know, when you're looking for something that a little bit different, or you've got a patterned fabric that you're not quite sure what's going to match, it's nice to have a choice, isn't it, of so many different colours that you can just dive into. I'm sure you're going to find something to match your fabric in one of these bundles or other anyway. Again, it's £18.99 for 2.5 metres. Let's have a look. Oh gosh, we don't have many of these left either. Less than 50 remaining now. So I'll make up a cube in just a second. Less than 40 remaining now. Oh, right, here we go. So we've got all of the different prints behind there, less than 30. And loads of colours to mix and match with. It's called a wall hanging, so if you wanted to just quilt this, then just quilt it and hang it on the wall. Just some bias binding around the edge, backing fabric on there, maybe quilt around the letters, maybe not, don't need to, go around the edges of the squares, that's up to you. Or you can cut them out and use them individually. I like the idea of Hannah, who's producing, she said she'd put pockets on the front, in which case I'd go for 2 of them and you've got a really lovely wall hanging that you could keep. You could make big pockets as well. So you could make pockets this big, keep your shoes in it, couldn't you? I'd maybe put pinch a couple of pleats in the bottom of it to give like a bit of depth to it, so it's not just a flat pocket, so you can actually keep things in there without the whole thing bending and distorting. You could put quite a heavy weight of interfacing on the back of that as well if you really wanted it to keep its shape. One of the foams or something like that I think would look really nice. So just as a wall hanging, or you can chop it up. Shall we chop it up? Use a rotary cutter, Deborah. Always talk to myself with my Sunday name. Oh, it is Sunday, isn't it? All right. So this is just really easy. I only need 6 squares. So, and they are perfect squares, so you can make a cube with them because they do need to be squares and not even slightly oblong. So 2. And again, you could cut some of that bright spotty fabric if you wanted to make your letters go a lot further, then use some of this as your squares as well. So you can maybe just have letters on the top and the bottom, or just around the sides and not on the top of the bottom. So let's cut all of this up. And these are fun games as well. I'm going to just sew the pieces together, leave a little gap to turn it the right side out and to stuff it. Use some of my early bird toy filler to fill it. And then you've got lightweight cubes that you can chuck around the house without it scratching your skirting board. There we go. Like so. You could quilt individual, you could make pages out of them, couldn't you? That wasn't very straight. So make little flashcards if you're learning how to spell. The more fun it can be when you're teaching kids things, anything like that, the more likely it is that they're going to remember, isn't it? Okay, let's sew these together. Right sides together, make sure the letters are the same way round. And I'm just going to use about 1/4 inch seam allowance that's not a zigzag. So those two will have an E. Give me an E. Carol. It's not Carol anymore, is it? I auditioned for that job, you know. Years ago. I was a Mensa member. I didn't keep it up because I didn't go to the meetings or anything like that, and you had to actually pay to be a Mensa member after you've sat your exams and everything. But yeah, I went to the TV station in Leeds. I can't remember which one it is now. Emmerdale's shot there as well, and had quite a mathematical audition for that one. But Carol got the job. Okay, so I'm sewing these together into squares, into a tube, I should say. So we have that. Now the trick is when you're sewing in the top and the bottom, and it's the same if you're sewing in a square bag base. It is tempting to put this in place and start sewing at the seam like so. Don't overlap it. So you're lining up the edge of this fabric with this fabric, and you're actually starting to sew your seam allowance in from the edge. So that's 1/4 of an inch from the edge there. So not up to the seam like so, overlap it so it matches that edge. You can pin to make it more accurate if you wish. And this one I'm going to sew all the way around. So when you come up to the next corner here, I can feel the ridge where the seam is. Bit more, bit more, bit more. There we go. And then leave the needle down, lift up the foot and just spin this around. So these two edges are straight. And carry on sewing. Oh, come on. Back into the next corner, I can feel again where that is. There, needle down, lift the foot up, pivot around, down the next side. It's all a bit of choreography, isn't it? And into the corner, over the seam, needle down, foot up, turn around, carry on sewing. It's the Sunday sewing song. Today, we're learning letters. With a happy birthday. I got to the studio first this morning. It was really early. There's no traffic on a Sunday. And just before Kat arrived, and I put the bunting up and I was getting my stuff out. And Kat came in and she went, "Is it your birthday? And you're decorating the studio all by yourself?" But no, it's not my birthday. I just thought I wanted to show that. I should have said yes. She'd have felt awful, wouldn't she? So that's the base in, or the top in. Now I'm going to put the top in, but I need to leave a gap. So just the same as I did with the base. Overlap the edge. So stretch that out. So there's my seam. Overlap the seam and start sewing here. And you can see when I get to the other end, that's going to be overlapped as well. But I'm going to leave the gap in that side. So again, I'd pin for accuracy, guessing for speed. So backwards just to make that hole strong. Into the corner. Needle down, and just the same as before. Makes a nice size cube, this as well. And if you're working with children and teaching them anything, don't they love bright colours? Don't you take more notice of bright colours? You could just cut all of these out and make square bunting pennants with it. Oh, oh, oh. Down you go. Down the next side. And it doesn't matter with something like this if you get a few wobbly lines, if it's not absolutely perfect. So for beginners, you're going to be able to produce something that looks really good, that's fun to play with, is educational, and simple to make. So let's go into the next corner here. That's not quite meeting. Oh, I got a bit wobbly when I was cutting this one, didn't I? So that corner's not going to quite meet. That's what happens when you rush things. Then the final side. And again, that's the side that I left a hole in. And then we'll turn it the right side out. And let's pop that in there. Push out the corners. It's a really useful tool, this. Have a look on the website for your iron finger. It's tempting, if you don't have the right tools, to make do with something. And when you're pushing out corners, the thing you're probably going to reach for is your scissors. And that's fine until you go through your fabric. Your iron finger has got a square corner for pushing out corners, but it's not sharp, so that's not going to tear your fabric. What are you doing there? You shouldn't be there. So there's my cube. And then we need to stuff it. I shan't stuff all of it because it's going to take a while. This is your early bird. There's 2 bags of toy filler, early bird being special offer for the day for those of you that get up nice and bright and early. Have had a few hundred of those, but half of the stock sold out. So we've got enough for you. It's not a limited offer for 1 per viewer, so if you wanted to order half a dozen of them, if you're making a lot of toys, then you will get through it. And again, 1 bag is 250 grams, which is probably enough for 1 soft toy. I might get 2 of these cubes depending on how tightly I'm going to stuff them. Looks good, doesn't it? I think because it's printed like this, it actually looks like a toy that you've been to a department store to buy, doesn't it? And of course you can make loads. You've got 26 letters. So you could put, appropriate initials and names around it. And you've got numbers as well. Remember, you've got 10 numbers, so you could do 2 of these and have 5 numbers on each and then put a plain. So I would recommend that you buy some of the spotty fabric to go with it if you don't have any bright coloured fabric at home already. So carry on filling. I think you get the idea. I wouldn't do it too tightly, to be honest, because you're going to get a ball instead of squares. Let's push that into the corners. And then I would hand sew the gap closed with a ladder stitch. I'll finish that later on because we're almost out of time, aren't we? So a fun item that's not going to damage the camera when you throw it at it. Oh, quick question from Karen. Hi again, Karen. Can the Janome needles be used in a Brother sewing machine? Please, yes, they can. Sewing machine needles for domestic sewing machines are universal. So even if they're branded, if it's a Singer or a Toyota or a Janome or a Brother or anything, they are interchangeable because all domestic sewing machines will take the same needles. I'm going to get caught out there now, aren't I? Somebody's going to phone up and say, well, I've got a What's It machine. It won't take any of those. In general, all sewing machines take the same needles. Right. We've got a few of these panels remaining now. So if you're making cubes, there's actually 28 there, so you will be able to make 6 cubes. 6 is there? No, you won't. You'll be able to make 4 cubes with a couple of letters left over. I told you I was a Mensa member. We have some of the Greys alphabets left. Pretty though, aren't they? Even for Greys. And I would go for another grey in the background. Oh, you've gone. No, I've gone. You've gone. You've got a really lovely soft palette of colours there. And they're all printed as well. But I would go for a grey in the background, or maybe a cream. Greys and creams, I just think, work so well together. Add your Bondaweb to your order. If you're going for these, you're going to find the letters easier to cut out and easier to apply to whatever it is you're making. You can make your own cubes out of those and, you know, spell names on them if you wanted to. £5.99 for your panel. Order on the website on sewingstreet.com, or you can order on the phone lines down here. 0800 001 4433 is our UK-based phone number. Okay, we've got some books on the show as well, but we haven't got time to take you through those. But we've got some 3 for 2s with the Love to Sew range. But again, have a look on our website on sewingstreet.com for more details. Join me back here again for another live hour in a few minutes' time. We're going to be looking at this little 550 sewing machine that I've been using all morning, and maybe we'll do a little bit more sewing, and we'll have a look at the books as well. Shall we do that? Okay. Put the kettle on time. I'll go and finish my croissant, and I'll see you again in a couple of minutes.
Shopping with us couldn't be easier. If you want to shop online, then you can head to our website, www.sewingstreet.com. It will redirect you to our sister channel Jewellery Makers landing page. Don't worry, you haven't gone to the wrong place. We're simply using their website temporarily while we're building our own web shop. Scroll down past the Watch Live part and you'll see all of the products that you will have seen on air on today's live show. You can also shop our catalogue by clicking a category, clicking a product to view closer, and adding it to your basket. Once you're ready to check out, you will need to create an account, which is absolutely free to do so, but it will mean that you can check out on as many orders as you want throughout the day with still only paying one postage and packaging. If you'd prefer to speak to somebody in our UK-based customer service team, then you can do so via the free telephone line number 0800 001 4433. They will not only help you create an account, but will also help you with any of your online shopping.
Hello and welcome. We love hearing from you, and we really hope that you can follow us on our social media platforms. We've got Instagram, which is @SewingStreet. We have Facebook. We've got 2 Facebook pages. One is the Sewing Street TV page, and the other one is Sewing Street Fans. All 3 of these are monitored all the time by our wonderful team, and if you want to message us on air, drop us a line on either of those 3 and we'll definitely be able to answer your questions that you may have. If you post on the actual wall, we can perhaps answer there. Otherwise, message us as well. That works really, really well. Thank you so much for being involved, and it's only because of this community that we're able to bring you all these different diverse products and to be able to answer your questions that you may have. Another way you can stay in touch with us is by signing up to our newsletter. These newsletters are sent out to you very regularly, and they include not only our guest profiles of upcoming guests, but also amazing shows that we've got coming up for you. And if you want to look at the amazing products before everybody else, that's the best way to do it. If you'd like to sign up and you haven't already, the link to follow is www.sewingstreet.com/sign up. You won't regret it. Thank you.
Hello there, I'm Debbie Shaw, and I would love you to join me on the first Monday of every single month for Sewing Street Surgery. Now, this is a dedicated hour where I answer your questions, and that could be questions about techniques, it could be questions about tools, it could be questions about new products, or maybe something that you've seen that you just don't understand. There's a lot of questions about tensions on sewing machines, and there's a lot of questions about working with different weights of fabrics. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask me, the easiest way to bring a question over to us is to go to our Facebook page and post your question on there. I will collate all of those questions throughout the week. If we need any new products for you, or if we need any new demonstrations, those will all be worked on leading up to that first Monday of the month. So do join me, Debbie Shaw, on Sewing Street Surgery on the first Monday.
Would you like to take part in our weekly competition? If you do, then all you have to do is head to the Sewing Street fan page group on Facebook. Post your picture of your make. Myself, Debbie Shaw, and John Cole Morgan love looking at all of your makes every week. We pick our favourite and announce the winner every Friday live on the show. Happy sewing and good luck.
Hi, I'm Debbie Shaw from Sewing Street, and these are my 5 top tips for successful sewing. So, number 1, always use a good quality thread. A good quality thread will keep your seams stronger and also help to prevent lint building up inside your sewing machine. Tip number 2, if your project isn't going quite according to plan, put it down, walk away from it, come back again the next day and you'll probably find that things don't seem half as bad as they did. My tip number 3, never throw away your sewing machine manual, always keep it to hand because you're going to find hints and tips, techniques and troubleshooting in that manual. You'll miss it if you lose it. My tip number 4 is to read your pattern instructions before you even cut out your fabric. Different manufacturers of patterns will give you different instructions, different ways of constructing your garments and different seam allowances. So to have a successful garment, you need to follow the instructions precisely. And then tip number 5 is don't give up. Every professional sewer sewed their first seam. Every professional quilter quilted their first quilt. Every professional quilter sewed their first line of wonky stitches and had to get out the quick unpick. That's no different to you. So I hope you find these useful. If you want more hints and tips, then why not go to Sewing Street on channel 74 on Freeview, on Sky 670, and of course we have a YouTube channel where you can catch up on previous demonstrations. We'll see you soon. Hello then, welcome back to Sewing Street. This is our final live hour this Sunday morning. The next 2 hours after this, you are going to see more sewing, so don't disappear anywhere. But in this hour, we're going to be looking at our Elna 550 sewing machine. So if you've got any sewing machine questions, if you'd like anything specific demonstrating, then do come through and leave a message on our Facebook page, which is Sewing Street TV, on the visitor posts bit, please, if you don't mind. I had loads of comments and questions this morning. It's lovely to hear from you. We've also got some fabulous books for you, some 3 for 2, so great offers for you as well. If you want to get ahead of the game, then take a look on our website, which is sewingstreet.com. When you go there, you'll see a video. It'll say jewellery maker, don't worry. It's all part of the same company. You'll see a video of what's going out at the moment, and then underneath that are all of the products that we have for you in the show and the 2 previous shows from today as well. And then you can shop the catalogue. So if you go on there, that will give you the catalogue of everything that we have available for you, and it's growing every day. And you know, we're quite new to all of this. We've only been going for 3 months now, so I think we're doing jolly well, I have to say. For a brand new company, it was only decided that we were going to start the company about 2 weeks before we went live. It was as quick as that. And things have just taken off and then slowed down. And we're still going strong, so I think that's great. And I'm so glad to have your support, and I'm so glad that you're there as well this morning. So if you want to just come and say hello, then it's the Facebook page, if you don't mind. So any questions, anything like that, then do come and be part of the show. Right, shall we take you through what we have for you in the show? So first of all, let me move all my demonstration products out of the way. We'll do a little bit of sewing later on. The star of this Sunday morning is the Elna 550. This is a compact sewing machine. Oh, I'll take that walking foot off in a second because it doesn't come with a walking foot. It's a computerized digital sewing machine with 100 stitches. It's incredibly easy to use and it's a nice compact size. So if you don't have a lot of space for sewing, this stores away really well in quite a small area. Don't be put off if you've not used a computerized machine by the word computerized. Computerized machines are so much easier to use than electronic or manual sewing machines, because all you need to do is to pick a number of the stitch, program it in by pressing the up-down buttons here, and the machine will automatically set the default length, the width and the tension for each one of those stitches. Electronic and manual machines don't tend to do that. We also have a speed control on the front here, which means that by using a start-stop button and the speed control in conjunction, you don't need to use a foot pedal. Now that's particularly important for those of you that can't. Maybe your legs don't work. Are you in a wheelchair? You don't need a foot pedal. You don't need to be coordinated, and you can also sew at a high height. So if you prefer to stand when you're sewing, maybe at the kitchen counter, and the foot pedal won't actually reach the floor, then you can use this combination instead. When you are using the foot pedal, you can still slow down the speed as you're sewing. So that's a great feature for anyone who's teaching somebody how to sew, or if you're learning how to sew and you feel as though the machine is sewing just too fast for you. Your stitches are all in here. So there's 100 of them in total, and these are all explained in the manual that comes with the machine. But you've got your straight stitches, so utility stitches, the ones that you're going to use most of all. And then we've got some decorative stitches. There's a buttonhole stitch, 3 buttonhole stitches, sorry. And we have mending stitches, overedge stitches, little picot stitches, decorative stitches, stitching the ditch stitches, heirloom stitches, satin stitches, and lots of more decorative stitches down here as well. So when you look at the stitches and the feet that comes with the machine, it'll give you an idea of the kind of thing that this has been made for. So stitching the ditch stitches are for your patchworkers and quilters. Of course, you can use these as decorative stitches on other projects as well, but anything with a straight line down the centre like these means that the straight line disappears into an existing seam and you just see the stitches across either side. Mending. So we're doing mending, repairing, maybe you're upcycling, you've got a hole in your jeans, or a tear behind a buttonhole. If you pulled a button off, then you may have a hole behind it, so you can mend it with stitches like this. We have buttonholes. Buttonholes are for attire, so we're looking at dressmaking, but you can also make a buttonhole as a decorative feature on a cushion cover maybe. We've got stretch stitches, so the lightning stitch you see here, and the stitches that have 3 dashes in a row are stretch stitches, so you're looking at jersey fabric. So again, we're talking about clothing, making garments. Blind hemming stitches can be for repairing, it can be for re-hemming when you've caught your heel in your hem, if you're making clothing, or if you're curtain making, so we're looking at homewares as well. And then decorative stitches can be for anything you like, so even something that you have existing, maybe decorating a pocket or a collar or a bag or a pillowcase. So in general, even though we have just 100 stitches at an affordable price, it's a machine that's for patchworkers, for homemakers, for bag makers, for crafters and for dressmakers. So it's covered every kind of genre. Simple to choose stitches again, so you choose a number up and down here. You can see on the screen as I'm moving up and down, the stitch length and the stitch width are altering as well. This is what I'm saying about having the recommended or the factory set settings. What's number 20? That's a decorative stitch, so I should be able to change, no, not 20, let's do 21, the stitch length and the stitch width. So I can override what Elna have decided as default with the buttons at the side. If I can't, you'll hear that noise. It's like a chirping noise, and that's the machine saying, can't do that, sorry. The buttons underneath here are going to be your most used stitches. So instead of having to pull the card out of the side and look for the stitch, I know I've got straight stitch, I've got a zigzag stitch, I've got an overedge stitch, and I've got a buttonhole stitch. It'll recommend on the screen which foot I need to use. So this is the buttonhole foot, and I'll need to pull down the button gauge just on the side of the machine. I shall show you that later on. Over here, needle up, needle down. So when you first start sewing, do that before you start threading the machine, and the needle will be in the correct position for threading. When you get as far as the needle to thread, then put the needle down, and this engages the tensions inside here and just make sure that, that you've threaded correctly. It also means as you're sewing, you can needle down and pivot, as I did in the previous show with the cube, and when you come back up again, the needle is in the right position to pull the fabric out. If you're using an electronic or a manual sewing machine, the machine will stop sewing with the needle in whatever position it is when it stops sewing. If your needle is too low and you try to pull the fabric out of the machine, it will struggle and it will loop up underneath because it'll be in mid-stitch. You'll think you've done something wrong. You'll probably blame tension again. And it's purely because, well, it is tension, but it's not tension's fault. It's because the tensions are still engaged when the needle's in the uppermost position as will automatically happen when you have this button, then your thread will simply flow out of the machine. It also means that when the needle's in the up position, it's in the correct position for using the needle threader. If your needle's halfway down and you use a needle threader, you're at a chance of bending the very fine hook that goes through the eye of the needle. That happens an awful lot. This is a lock stitch and a reverse stitch. So your reverse stitch will sew backwards. Your lock stitch will do 3 or 4 stitches on top of each other, so you don't need to reverse. So if you're top stitching a quilt maybe and you don't want to see the reverse stitch, if you want to lock the stitches at the end of a decorative row of stitches and you don't want to spoil the design, then just press that button and the machine will just sew a few stitches. On top here, we have a presser foot pressure dial. So these are the kind of things that at this price point you don't necessarily see. Again, this is explained in the manual, but this increases or decreases the pressure that the presser foot has on your fabric. So if you're sewing very heavy fabrics or thick layers of fabric, it may be beneficial to slightly decrease this, to decrease the pressure, and you'll get a better stitch line. If it's very fine fabric, you may want to increase this. Always practice on a scrap piece of the fabric that you're using first of all to make sure that all of these things are set properly. This is the tension. Please don't touch tension. Poor old tension gets the blame for everything. It will be factory set when you get it home, a number 4. The average ones you're going to use are 4 and 5, because they got boxes around those. So leave that alone unless you're doing specific sewing such as with shirring elastic, or you wanted to gather, in which case you're going to whack that tension right up again. But basically I talk a lot about tension because I'm asked a lot about tensions, and basically the only thing that your tension is going to affect is how much thread is pulled up from the bottom of the machine. So ideally your top stitch should sit in the middle of your layers of fabric with the bottom stitch. So you see the top stitch, the top thread on the top and the bottom thread on the bottom, and the join is right in the middle of the 2 pieces of fabric. If you increase the tension on the top, you're going to pull up the stitches from the bottom, and if you decrease the tension, you're going to have too much thread coming at the bottom. That's the only difference your tension is going to make. If you've got slip stitches, pulled stitches, puckering of your fabric, it's probably not the tension. 99% of the time it's not tension, it's something else that's affecting your fabric. But that is a sewing surgery topic, so we shan't go into that too much now. I'm just going to take off this walking foot because the machine doesn't come with a walking foot, but I'll talk you through the feet that it does come with. So you can use a walking foot with the machine. It's a low shank. If you wanted to buy one, I would recommend with any sewing machine, any needles, as I answered in the previous hour, are fine. But with feet, I would recommend that you go for the feet that are from the manufacturer of the machine that you're buying. Now I've lost the presser foot, which I put to one side thinking I'll take that walking foot off in a minute and put the right foot back on again. Oh, here we go. Got it. I knew I put it somewhere safe. It was safe, I just didn't remember where it was. So, Hannah, producer, would like to know where the keys for her window are. Actually, Hannah, they're probably in my drawer. Have you got one of those drawers that you just put things in? I've got keys from houses that we lived in 20 years ago. I've got car keys from cars that are probably a cube by now. So you don't tend to throw radiator keys, all in the drawer. So if you're missing anything, probably in my drawer. So this is the standard foot that comes with the sewing machine. That's sometimes called a zigzag foot. So that will be on the machine when you get it home, and that's what you're going to use for most of your projects. We also have a buttonhole foot. Remember, we've got 3 buttonholes on the machine, and this is the type of buttonhole foot that measures the buttons so you get the perfect size of buttonhole every time. We also have a satin stitch foot. So you saw the satin stitches. They've got like a zigzag effect. It gives them dimension. So this foot has little bars on the bottom of it to raise the foot away from the stitches so it doesn't flatten them. And it's also clear so you can see where you're sewing. This one is an over edge foot. You have your over edge stitches. So this will take your stitch slightly over the edge of the fabric. And it's got a little brush on the side as well. So that's to flick inside any loose threads from woven fabrics. This one is a blind hem foot, which has got a bit tangled up with thread. So this will enable you to make invisible hemming on clothing, on curtains and things like that. But it also has a guide down the centre. So that makes it a really useful foot for top stitching. So keep the needle, measure this when you get it home, keep the needle on a straight stitch, or the machine on a straight stitch, and you'll be able to sew about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So if you're top stitching around the edge of a bag maybe, or you are stitching like I did with that little bit of patchwork earlier on, like this one, then use the guide against the edge of the fold, and you can move the needle, in this case, over to the right hand side and use a straight stitch, and then you've got a nice guide there to help you sew in a straight line. And finally, we have a 1/4 inch foot, which is perfect for patchworkers, only to be used with a straight stitch because it's only got one hole in there. And this time, the little guide on the side is exactly a 1/4 inch from the hole that you're going to sew into. So as I'm sewing my seam allowance, or again, if I'm making a border and I want that exactly a 1/4 inch away, if I'm top stitching, then that's going to be really useful for you as well. And I think that's it. Oh, this contraption, by the way, goes with your buttonhole foot, and that normally slips in the side. This is for thick fabrics. I'm not sure if it goes with this one. Not sure if that one should be in there. But if you have one of those in your box, then that's for sewing buttonholes on thick fabrics. And then you've got, oh, there you go, it comes with that. Yes, it does come with this. So your foot sits in here, and then that will go there, and that goes under there, and then your thick fabric goes in between the two layers in there. So that's what that's for. Spare spool holders, so you can do some twin needle sewing. You do get a packet of needles as well. And your screwdrivers and spare spools and everything that you need. Okay, so any questions, come through to Facebook, remember. So that's basically your machine. Shall we do a little bit of sewing? We've got more on the show. We've got some fabrics for you, and we've got some great 3 for 2 offers on the Love to Sew books as well. So we'll go through those in just a second. And we've got the ham too. We've got some English paper piecing bits and bobs. Have a look on sewingstreet.com. Let's put the regular foot back on here again. Fabric through to the back. So this is just a little stitch and flip panel that I made in the first hour, which I thought, oh, and this is using canvas as well. I just wanted to do something a little bit different than making a bag, but now I'm going to make a bag. It is my namesake. I am a bag sure and proud of it. Right, what we got? Let's use the purple. And I'm going to put this as a panel on the front of a bag. That looks really nice already, if I say so myself. So we'll have rotary cutter, ruler and mat, can't live without them. And we'll cut out a bag. I'll just make a little tote bag. I haven't got a zip that matches, and I think when I'm putting together beautiful colours like these, it has to match. So I think I've got a red zip in my bag, but it's not right for this, so we'll just make a little tote. Mat that way around. Trying to make the most of the size of the mat as I'm cutting. So we'll trim off the selvage, and we'll line those two up together, and that's my fancy panel that's going across the front. I'll just put it on the one side, I think. So that's going to be the size of the bag, or the width of the bag, I should say. So that there, that's going to go. That could be a pocket. And let's trim this side down. I'll square it all up in just a second. Oh, it's looking nice already. to make the base square. So to make the base square, I'm actually matching up the ruler, I'll do it the right way around, with a line at the bottom here. That's not too bad actually, but we'll square it off anyway. So, because I can't see the edge of the measurements on the actual bag. So that's now square. That looks pretty square at the sides. Maybe we'll take it down just a little bit. That side's okay. And we'll trim, we'll cut this quite short. And then that, I think, should go about that far from the top. So I'm going to cut that in across there. So I've got that, which is too long. So I'm going to cut some of that off as well. Might seem a bit wasteful, but measure that at home if you like. And oh, I could do some piping, couldn't I? Shall I do some piping? Oh, have we got time? Yeah. Might not be able to make up the whole bag, but nice. Oh, I didn't see a zipper foot. Oh, I need a zipper foot. Let's cut a little bit of this off. I've cut into this already. So, there's a zipper foot in there. Let's pop that in there. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that 2.5 wide because I'm not sure how big my piping is. I can always trim it down. So I'm going to ask very nicely if our floor manager could find me a zipper foot. So that is my fabric cut, and I'm going to use 1/4 inch pipe. Oh, that's far too wide. So that's going to wrap around there. Oh, I'm going to trim that down to 2 inches. You're an angel, thank you. See, teamwork. Zipper foot. You do get a zipper foot with the machine. It just seemed to have been missing from this one. No, we'll do 1.5 inches actually. There is a method and mathematics of measuring fabric to make sure that it's exactly the right size for your piping. But I just wanted to get something done with this one. Fabulous. Right. We don't have piping cord on the website at the moment, but it is readily available. Let's put the zipper foot on here. Straight stitch. Then I'm going to wrap my fabric around the cord and just sew down the side. Now it's important when you're sewing like this, I'm not worried about the needle position on this, this is just holding the fabric together. It's important to match up the raw edges because that's going to be my seam allowance. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Needle down. So simply fold over, pin if you want to, and sew. So I'm sewing quite close to the cord, but not right up against the saw. Am I not sewing? Oh, look at me. Ran out of bobbin thread, haven't I? Well spotted, Hannah producer. So I'm on the pink, aren't I? So excuse my back while I just find another pink. There we go. What am I using there? Oh, that's cotton, that's fine. Unless I've got one filled. Excuse me a second while I rummage in my magic box. And that'll do. It's going on the bottom, so it doesn't really matter. You don't want to see me filling up threads. Maybe you do, but you're not going to. So, wrap your fabric around the cord and sew down the side, matching the raw edges. Sewing this time. Do you know, if you want a fancy schmancy, the Elna 780 lets you know when the bobbin thread's running out, and you can even choose how many metres you want it to alert you at. So if you wanted it to let you know when you have ½ a metre of thread left in the bobbin, it actually comes up on the screen, you have ½ a metre of thread left. And then you won't be sewing endless amounts of fabric with no stitches on them. Okay, so that's that. So we'll have another piece here. Piping, I think, gives a really, again, it's another one of those professional shop bought kind of looks. If you see a plain cushion cover and then you see another one with piping, it looks as though you paid double the price for it. And it's really easy to do, particularly when you're piping in a straight line like I am here. Piping around a corner, maybe a sewing surgery little project when we get some piping in stock. Hopefully we will do. Because piping cord's really useful, not just for piping, but for drawstring bags as well. If you've got navy and white fabrics, I think there's one in my backpacks book, it gives a nautical kind of look because it looks like white rope. And there's lots of different sizes available as well. There's 1/8 of an inch, which is really fine. There's tiny thin piping that you can use on clothing as well, right up to some that is like rope. It's like ½ an inch across or something. So that's that. Then this is going to go into my work, which I've lost. Here we are. Still keeping the zipper foot on the machine. I don't need you anymore. So those are my pieces. Slightly smaller at the top than the bottom because I think it looks nice having a little bit asymmetrical. And this is where I was saying about the distance from the stitch to the edge needing to be uniform, because that is now my seam allowance. I could trim that back a little bit, that's rather deep, but you know, it'll be fine for what we're doing now. So this time, you can do two together if you wanted to, but I think it makes more sense for me to sew them individually. I'm just going to sew along the same stitch line, so I don't need to be too close to the piping at the moment. So this is just to hold them together. The important seam is going to be the next one. So all the way down. That's actually just inside the previous stitch line, but it doesn't matter. And then we'll chop that off and chop that off. Then the top of the bag is going to go right sides down on top of here. Now this time I can't see where the piping is. So if I turn it over, I can see where the stitch line is. So let's line up the edges here and make sure that's nice and square. And then this time I want the needle to go right over to the left-hand side, and I want to sew as close to the piping as I can. You can feel the lump. So put the foot down. On a straight stitch, on a computerised sewing machine, it has no width. So when you adjust the width, it'll swing the needle from one side to another. So I'm taking this right over, just pressing the minus button until my needle is as close as I can get to the piping, but without actually sewing through it. So I want a nice close stitch. And again, I can feel that lump as I'm going, so I can see where I'm sewing. So I don't want to touch the piping, but I want to sew really close up to it. You can always go back over again if you're too far away when you turn your work over. Okay, so now when I open this up, doesn't that look lovely? Really gives you a professional finishing touch. Let's do the other side. I'll do this really quickly. Shan't have a chance to make the whole bag up, but it's more about the technique, isn't it? Might look nice. Actually, it would look, I'll put the needle back again. It would look nice as a wash bag. So if I had some PUL, which is a very fine laminated fabric, the kind of thing that you'd use on baby changing mats. Pop that on the inside and I've got a nice little wash bag then. So again, that's that, that's that. This one on, right sides together, turn it over so I can see where I'm going. pop that in there. It would make a lovely cushion cover. Move the needle over, and so. And again, feel the lump. Feel the lump as you're sewing. You don't have to sew as fast as I do. It's a fast little machine, actually, this one, isn't it? Quite small but speedy. So I'm just going to chop the ends of this off before I show you, because I think you're going to be impressed. Well, I hope you are. The pink canvas, by the way, is really busy. Doesn't that look really professional? Now, I could have made that without the piping, which was my intention, and it would look like that. But that is a really lovely finishing touch. And using the same colours, I think, really ties that in. I wouldn't use a contrast colour. I would actually press that away. Doesn't want to go away, but I think it looks better as it's kind of going away from the patchwork in the middle. And then actually you could top stitch that as well. There's so much that you could do. That would make a lovely little cushion cover. Just with the zip across the top, you've got a nice size of makeup bag or jewellery bag, or the whole thing could be a panel in a quilt, a block in a quilt. But that for me was going to be a little tote bag. Nice effect, isn't it? What a mess I've made in here. Tidy that up later. Oh, I've got a full thread there, haven't I? Honestly, Deborah. Let's have a look at some books. So, these are 3 for 2. So you buy 2, you get 3. And we have vintage style gifts for the home. We have hanging hearts and leggom style accessories. These books, the Love to Sew books, are very, very simple projects with simple instructions as well, but they're jam-packed full. So they're ideal books for a beginner sewer, somebody that's learning how to sew, somebody that's just lost a mojo and wants some ideas and doesn't know where to start, or if you're teaching somebody how to sew. They're very simply explained projects. So let's take a look at leggom style accessories. These are Scandinavian styles of sewing and projects, but I think mainly it's the fabric that's been used, so you can use any kind of fabrics you like. Lots of information about tools and techniques, and then moving on to the projects, and as you can see, really simple projects. There is an explanation of leggom and what it is as well. It's quite a lifestyle. So, but I'm very varied as well. A bit of bunting and storage pots, cushion covers. But you can see about the simplicity. Simply explained, simple pictures. Love the gnome. And great ideas as well. So you're also having vintage style gifts for the home. And again, vintage because I think of the type of fabric that's been used. It's a very shabby chic kind of look. Loads of projects in this one, as you can see. You change the colours and you've got a completely different look for your projects as well. These make great gift ideas as well. Considering, you keep 2, you've got a free gift for somebody there, they'll never know. And worth kind of storing, if you like. We used to have a drawer full of gifts when our kids were little. Because they'd always come home from school and, so-and-so's party tomorrow, I've got a present for them. I'm not saying that these are children's gifts, but it's nice to have things, if you know people that sew, to kind of buy ahead. I love that. I think it's not just the hearts, it's the jug, it's the whole look. I like that kind of feeling. Who knew there were so many different hearts that you can create? So again, a whole section on tools and making the hearts and hints and tips. And then lots and lots of hanging hearts to decorate your home. For £15.98. Again, that's for all 3 of those. Then we have, I'm just checking to see if there's any of mine on this 3 for 2, and I'm quite pleased there aren't. So we do have a bunting, actually. I think it's in the next one. Oh, that's sold out now, by the way, completely gone. Oh, that one, the quilting one. This one's sold out. So I shan't show you those because they've gone. But we do have Christmas stockings and crazy garlands. These are, that's Alistair, isn't it? Oh no, that's Rachel Rowe. This one's Alistair and then Greta Fitchett. So let's take a look at crazy garlands and bunting. Bunting, because you could maybe use your alphabets on some of these. You need to make them bigger. These are minis that Alistair's made for you, but they're really quite fun. That one's just pants, isn't it? I like the toadstool one when we come to that. So again, information about tools that you need, which you'll always find useful, and basic techniques for making your bunting. There's the little toadstools, look, I think that's really sweet. My great niece has a toadstool themed bedroom. Be appropriate. Oh, a little bit of frou-frou. Saucy bunting, who knew? Little ballet dancers' dresses. I love the weather one. Counting sheep, nice for a bedroom. Because you could, oh, the records as well, that takes me back. Discotheques. That's been a while. Oh, Halloween bunting with the pumpkins. The nautical one's nice. Oh, and the little balloons, hot air balloons. So some lovely ideas. A nice one for kids as well, I think, to get the children interested in sewing. So that's the one book, templates in the back. Then we have Christmas stockings. And again, you've got patterns in the back of this one as well. So quite a few stars there. It's a good time of year to get started on Christmas stockings. Get them all out of the way. Even an old jumper, an upcycled sweater, I do like that one. I want to wear that one. So remember they're 3 for 2, so you're getting all of these for 3, but you're only paying for 2. And then cakes and candies, make nice little pin cushions. And some of them look so realistic, don't they? But they're all made from fabric, it's really clever. So lots of techniques to learn, to use, to transfer, and to enjoy. So those 3, £15.98. Right, we've got some quilt labels for you actually. Let me show you these. So these have been selling really well on the website. And not just for quilting, we're calling these quilt labels, but I think anything that you're making, if you're selling it, if you're gifting it, it lets everyone know who's actually made it for a start. But something that you're proud of, something that's going to be handed down, or something that you're gifting. So I'd put maybe the smaller ones inside a bag. We've got made with love and handmade with love, handmade for you, made for you. So there's lots of sentiments. You could use a fabric pen to write on those, put a bit of handwriting on there and make it personal. If you've got a sewing machine with an alphabet, you could fill all of the gaps in with your sewing machine as well. But it makes it personal and it makes it yours. And it makes it professional. Made with love to keep you warm. Isn't that nice for a little quilt? And the colours on these actually would go really well with our letter pan. If you're making that into a quilt or a wall hanger, then it'd be nice to have a label on the back. So this quilt belongs to, but not just about the quilts. Put these in anything that you're making. And it's only £7.99. Nice that there's different sizes in there, even triangular ones to go in the corner of a quilt is such a nice idea. Got different colours as well. So this one is a little bit more classy. So this is the Posh one. This is the upmarket quilt panel. It's got flowers, it's got swirls, it's got filigree, it's got mushrooms, and all in these pale greys, again, which is such a lovely soft colour. I was saying earlier about greys and creams and how well they go together, don't they just? So handmade, stitched with love, made with love, handmade, and some of those left blank so you can fill them in as you wish. Again, it's £7.99. And you can buy as many of those as you like. Remember, you're only paying £1 postage for the whole day. So if you've already bought something over the last couple of hours, you won't pay any postage for that. We've got pinks. So just the same idea, excuse me, but with pink with the cream background. Again, it's £7.99. So much detail in these. So a very kind of sketchy, really traditional kind of look. Again, you fill those in with whatever you need to or you want to, messages, sentiments, who it's it to, or maybe just the date that it was made. Washing instructions. Actually, on the big Posh sewing machine that we have, the 780, there are washing instructions on the decorative stitches. So you could just sew some of those in. And the same colour thread would be nice as well. We have same again, but in blues. Worth getting a few of them, isn't it, if you do a lot of quilting particularly. So, handmade, stitched, made with love. Little sewing machines at the bottom down there, look, made with love. And the scissors decorating them. We've got hearts, handmade with love, stitched with love. Again at £7.99. And then finally, morning Christine. Christine says, great to see you and your happy ways. Thank you. Great sewing inspiration. I loved your bag yesterday. And the oops, oh, I had an oops, not one of those oops moments. Not yet. I made the bag that I started making last week on Sewing Street. I actually made it from start to finish on a Facebook Live yesterday on my Facebook page. And I was doing so well. And I made a letterbox zip and I sewed it to the lining. And when I'd sewed it to the lining and cut it all out, I realised I'd sewn it to both pieces of lining. So it made a very sturdy bag. Things don't always go according to plan. You never know. Just wasted a bit of fabric. So this is, I've only got the pinks and the greys in this one. So I blame multitasking when you're trying to sew and demonstrate and listen to people in your ear and talk. Then that's my excuse for things going a little bit wrong sometimes. It's no excuse at all really, but you know, I may as well use it. It's the only one I've got. £7.99 for those. But I did say yesterday, and anything that goes wrong like that, it's a learning curve, because next time I come to make a bag, whether it's here or on Facebook or wherever I'm doing it, I will never do that again. So you have to get things wrong before you get them right. That's a good excuse as any, isn't it? Right. We've also got, now this is a lovely book. If you like hand sewing. All of the projects in here are hand sewn. There's a lot of top stitching, quilting, English paper piecing, and there's lots of different techniques in here. I also love the fabrics that have been used as well. Akemi Shibata is I'm sure she's a teacher, a Japanese teacher. Probably say anyway. Oh yes, she's a quilt designer and teacher. And she owns a quilt shop as well. So she's a very experienced lady. But I love her fabric choices. When I first saw the book, I thought, oh, these are going to be some really quick makes. But then when you actually look at the techniques, everything is hand sewn. But she takes you through stitches and all of the different techniques that you're going to need to use, which you can use for other projects as well. All the different hand stitch. But look at these bags, aren't they amazing? So they're a labour of love. These aren't quick makes. This isn't something that you're going to make in an afternoon. It's going to be one of those projects that you come back to time and time again, which I think is lovely. So I think sometimes with projects that you really enjoy making, you can get quite disappointed when it's finished. Does that make sense? But with these, you know, you're going to come back, maybe add some bits and bobs and put your own little twist on there as well. So Hannah's actually picked out some of her favourites. Because we've got there's a few English paper pieces, piecing pieces to make little purses and things like that. We've got English paper piecing. Have to be careful when you get a little bit carried away with your piece. English paper piecing paper on the show for you. I'll show you in a bit. We got there. But look, that's a purse. What a lovely idea. So smaller projects like that maybe won't take you as long. But if you love hand sewing, then there's some really lovely projects in here. My friend Melissa actually made that bag up. I couldn't find it to bring it in and show you. And again, all hand sewn, little hexy flowers. Such a lovely idea. Really lovely book. So we've got pictures and diagrams. These are all kind of templates as well. And there's lots of them. There's something for everything in there. And in fact, even your English paper piecing shapes are there as well. But it seems a shame to cut up your book. So I would trace those. So the English paper piecing pieces I would trace onto card. And we've got some English paper piecing papers for you as well. Pickled peppers and all that. 180 GSM, which is a perfect weight for piecing. And it's nice and smooth as well. With English paper piecing, it's important to have a weight of paper that you can remove easily, that bends easily, but then you can reuse. If you are sewing and you catch the edge of the paper, don't worry about that, because all you're going to be left with is little perforations, which when you wrap the next piece of fabric around there, it becomes straight anyway. If your paper is too heavy, then you're not going to be able to get it out of your work very easily. And if it's too lightweight, when you fold the fabric around the paper, it can bend over as well. So you need quite a sturdy paper, but fine enough to be able to remove easily. But then you want to reuse it as well. And if you're going into Y shapes, if particularly with hexagons, you're joining them together, you need to be able to fold and crease this in half with the fabric wrapped around it. So again, you don't want anything too stiff for that purpose. So £2.99 for 20 sheets you have there. And remember, it's reusable. So if you're careful with it and you look after it and you don't tear them when you take them out, then you can use those time and time again. So that's going to last you a long time. And it's A4 in size. So if you can find a website that has the hexagons or the diamonds or whatever shape you're piecing, you can just print them all out on here. So go in your printer quite easily. We also have a glue pen. Now this is a fabric glue pen. So it's not going to gunge up your needle and it's going to be simple to sew through. So if I'm using this for English paper piecing, I'll use this instead of tacking. So I don't hand tack, I use the glue. It's strong enough to hold the fabric there as you're sewing, but it will allow you to tear the papers away without damaging them. If the glue's been in there quite a while, it does become quite sticky. So if you put a warm iron over the top of your work, it'll kind of melt the glue a little bit and then you'll be able to peel the papers out very easily. But I also use this for putting in zips. She says, looking for a zip in my magic box. Got everything in that box. So I know I'm not putting a zip in here, but just to give you an idea. Oh, that's an invisible one. Still works. So with this one, that goes face down. A little bit of glue along the side of the zip and then place that down. So it's like a stick of pins. So I'd leave that for a while because it does adhere, not permanently, but if you leave it there for a few seconds, it will adhere. And that's really held in place, as you can see. So I can now sew over the top of it without the risk of it gunging up my sewing machine, and I haven't had to pin. Because if you pinning's fine, but if I'm pinning a zip, I would pin it and then I'd hand tack it. So I'm not sewing around pins, so it's quite time consuming. And then after you've tacked, you're probably going to have to take the tacking stitches out as well. So you don't have to remove this. It's blue, but it dries clear and it will wash out. So you don't need to wash it out. If it's something that you're not going to wash, if it's a bag or something, just leave it in there. But if you get a little bit of overspill on your fabric, that's going to wash out, so don't worry about that. That's what the pen's meant for. Don't ever use a paper glue pen on fabric because you'll spoil your needle and it isn't designed for fabric, so it may not wash out. So Pritt sticks are amazing for paper, just not for fabric. You're also getting a refill in here, so let me show you how that works as well. And we did have some more refills on the website. I think we're sold out of the refills. But as soon as they come back on the website again, buy them, because then you don't need to buy another pen. So when you start running out, and this obviously isn't, but I'll show you the size of the refill here. When you get to the end, you'll get down to this plastic bit here. So, oops, unscrew it all the way out. It will go back in again. And then this is the refill, so just pull the pink end off. That goes back inside here, give it a push, and slide it off, and then re-screw that back in again. So next time, so keep an eye out on the website, and next time you come to buy one of these, or however many you get. That works. It'll work. Leave that for the next presenter to demonstrate, and good luck with it. So lots of glue in there. They're great for applique as well. Oh, I tell you what else they're going to be really useful for. If you bought some of the PU in a previous show, if you've sewn a seam, imagine that's a seam, and you want to press it open, you can't press. You can't press a crease in this fabric. So what I do, that's a seam. I'll put a strip of glue down there and then fold that down. Like that. Oh, needs a bit more on. So that'll hold it down, and then you can top stitch. And that gives a very leather look kind of look as well. If you've got anything made out of leather, tend to be in small pieces and patchwork together because cows are only one size, aren't they? And then you'll see top stitching either side, so you can have that same kind of look with your faux leathers. But it's a way of kind of putting a crease into something that doesn't really crease as well. Don't get it on the outside of your PU because it'll stain it. Okay, so we've got some messages. Lovely. So I've just gone to my WhatsApp. Morning. Was this? Oh, hi, Kathy. Thank you so much for a lovely Sunday show. So inspirational with demos, learning such a lot. I'm so pleased. Thank you so much. It makes it all kind of worthwhile when you send messages like that. And the first, who's the first message for? I haven't got a name on that one again. Oh, is it Norma? Hi, Norma. And she says, morning, Debbie and team, enjoying the demo. Please, can you tell me the difference between the 550 and the 560? One simple difference, the 550 has 50 stitches and the 560 has 100 stitches. That's the main difference, I think, between the two of them. Oh, I said 100 stitches earlier on, didn't I? Sorry, this one's got 50 stitches. I might have got that wrong. I can't remember. I'm getting my 560s and my 550s mixed up. The 550 has 50 stitches. So this one has your 50 stitches here. On the 560, you'll have 2 cards to pull out with 50 stitches on each one. And the 560 will come with a walking foot. This one doesn't. And I think apart from that, that's the only difference. Or is it the 570 that comes with the walking foot? It's the stitches, basically. Normally, the more money you pay for a sewing machine, the more stitch capability that you have. So if all you're going to... Oh, the 560's got a thread cutter, so you'll see a little pair of scissors on the top here. So that's the main difference, the stitches and the thread cutter. It depends what you want to use the machine for. They're all the same size, 560, 570 and 550. So they're all compact sewing machines. The 570's got 200 stitches and it's got more features and more feet with it. It depends what you want to use it for as to which machine to go for. If you're going to be doing general repairs, if you're going to be doing simple projects, you may not need all of those extra buttonholes and the extra decorative stitches. If these stitches are fine for the kind of projects that you want to make, then go for this one. Go for the basic sewing machine. This is the most affordable sewing machine that we have for you on Sewing Street. If you think that you're going to be doing more decorative work, maybe more dressmaking and you want more buttonholes, or you just want more stitches and a thread cutter, then you go for the 560. If you want even more stitches and more features, then you go for the 570. If you're going to be serious about quilting, if that's where you're going to go, if you intend to do some big quilts, I wouldn't go for any of these machines. I'd go for one of the big machines because you'll find a bigger throat area here and you'll find huge extension tables. So if you're making larger items, it's well worth having a look at one of the 720s or the 780s. Have a look on the website. You'll have more stitches, you'll have more features, but it's the size of it and the weight of the machines. Those are cast machines, so they're really solid. So it depends where you're going as to which sewing machine that you could go for. And of course, budget. Maybe you don't have £1,100 or £1,300 to spend. It's a sturdy little machine and it's fast. It's got a 2-year warranty, and look, I'm zooming in. And it's an Elna. The one thing that I would say to anybody buying a machine for the first time is go for a big brand name. I don't mind what it is, but go for a big brand. You'll have support, you'll have help, you'll have peace of mind, you'll have guarantees. And when you're spending even £479, that's a really important thing to take into account. Elna are British based, they're in Stockport in Cheshire, and they're very nice people. Elna and Janome are the same company. Janome is my choice of sewing machine. I like the company. I like to be able to phone somebody and talk to them if I need any advice or anything like that. I'm looking for some new sewing machine feet for my machine at the moment. And when I've looked on some of the websites, they're asking if my machine's a class A, B or C, and I haven't got a clue. So I'm going to give them a ring on Monday morning. So is my machine an A, B or C class? And it's that kind of support that I think is really important. So don't be tempted to buy a very cheap machine if you're serious about sewing, because you'll find them plastic on the inside and they won't cope with heavy weights of fabric. So this is an investment. I'm going to shut up about sewing machines now and tell you what I'm doing tomorrow. So we have at 8 o'clock in the morning, got sewing room goodies. 9 o'clock. We've got a new panel coming up for you at 9 o'clock, and it's a flower of the month, and it's really pretty. It's all in greys, and it's got the flower panel, then loads of strips of fabric to go with it as well. So I'm going to be bag making. I've got a new book for you as well. Well, it's not new, but a book that you haven't seen before, which is So Brilliant Bags. So we'll be making bags and cushion covers tomorrow, and then there's loads more coming up tomorrow as well. So lovely to have you company this morning. More sewing coming up for the next couple of hours, and I shall see you again bright and early at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Bye-bye.